Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Ooh, is it hot out there already?
Oh my God. It's hot already.
Holy cow. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. It's in the 90s already.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Yesterday, so my wife and my son.
That's beautiful.
Liz and Aaron are away. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Liz and Aaron went to Maine for the weekend to stay with Liz's good friend.
Wow.
And her kids. And so I don't like being home alone.
You're batching it.
A lot of people like the bachelor thing. I
don't either. I'm not good at fending
I was like,
for myself.
all right, I got to keep myself busy this weekend. So Saturday we were evaluating new players for our fall baseball league, so that kept me busy.
Right.
And then yesterday they were playing some makeup Little League games.
Okay.
So there were 2 games during the day and 1 at night. I said,
some
okay.
Scouting.
I said, well, no.
I like that.
The 2 day games were the younger kids, the minor league.
All right.
So I said, I'll come and be the first base for those games.
That's good of you.
So, but look at my face. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
I was standing out there from noon to like 4:30, and I'm like, I'm like, what am I doing? This is insane. This is not the way to keep busy.
Did you have glasses on?
Oh.
I had sunglasses, you could tell. Because,
Yeah, I've got the raccoon too.
Yeah, you got it also.
Yeah,
I was on the boat all weekend and had the sunglasses on all weekend. I had to take them off.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got raccoon eyes now.
You know what was funny, though, is so not only was it 100 degrees, you get these little kids playing. One team was playing a doubleheader because they had missed 2 games,
God.
which was crazy. And they only had, by the middle of the first game, they were down to 7 players because one kid got sick and had to go home. Another kid was that
from the heat?
Probably, and we were making sure the kids were drinking water.
Sure,
I must have had 20 bottles between water and Gatorade.
Wow!
But this second kid, something happened. I've never seen this happen in baseball before. The kid, this little guy, hits a foul tip. It got him kind of just above the hands.
Yeah,
and it went straight back into his face.
Oh Lord!
Hit him right here.
Boom!
Everywhere. Blood all over the place.
He probably thought he was gone.
Oh my God! The kid,
Hot blood.
He actually came back for the second game just to watch.
Shout out to him.
Huge black eye.
Did he need stitches or no?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, and by the last so you can't start a new inning after an hour and 20 minutes.
Right.
We finished the 3rd inning or whatever it was, 4th inning, and it was 30 seconds from the time limit. I said to the main ump, I'm like, we should just call the game. And he's like, no, it's the rules. And so we start the next inning, and the kid who was pitching for the one couldn't throw a strike. It was like 6 walks in a row. The score was now like 11-2. And finally, of course, it takes the women to save the day. There were 2 moms for the one team that was like, this is ridiculous.
Yes,
it's time to go home. And I was like, listen, I agree, but I got outruled here.
Yeah, it is always the voice of reason. It's the women.
Yeah.
I said, thank you, ladies, for saving the day, because I was going to have to stand out there another 20 minutes. I thought I was going to die.
One thing if it's a 3-2 game and it's a great ball game, but if the kids throwing walk after walk after walk.
It was over. They were not coming back. They were not going to score 9 runs.
Do you guys do like when at the league we used to play in? It used to be 6 balls before you got to walk.
Oh no.
Oh, but this is the 6, 7, and 8.
No, these kids are like 9 and 10.
Okay, 9 and 10.
Yeah, I've never heard of a 6-ball league.
Yeah, it was like little kids. Yeah. Whoa.
Oh my God, that would just be worse.
Yeah,
it would take 6 balls to walk.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing of it is, if you're not going to get an out with 4, you're not going to get one with 6
Probably
either.
Not. No.
Oh my God. Pitch counts in the 300s.
Oh my God.
We're going to talk about the Guardians. After a,
every time you come in
research.
on Monday.
I know. I'm like this. But I want research, Bull. I want research. When teams from the East Coast start their West Coast trips, what do they do in the first 3 games of those trips?
Yeah, I don't know. We need that stat.
The Mariners the Guards got swept by the Mariners. Then they got their feet under them. It takes a day for each hour you move a time zone. That's the athletic rule of thumb. At least that's what Corey learned when he was in competitive track. And sometimes they would go to Europe. He would go East Coast to West Coast for NCAA championships and whatnot. And typically the trainers would say, for every hour you move time zone, give yourself a day to get your legs underneath them. Well, that kind of makes sense because they got blown out the first 3 by Seattle.
Yeah.
And then they go 4-6 on the last 6 games of the road trip. 4-2, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
4 of 6.
Yeah.
And it just
the hitting didn't change.
No,
they
but
just pitched great for those.
their hitting is so bad.
Yeah, they just were phenomenal on the mound. In those games.
And they were really, really good.
Yeah.
We'll talk about guards.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the big trade from the NBA, and we're also, of course, going to dive in, and that's where we're going to start with the NBA Finals. It's all over. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. We also got Rafael Barlowe, an NBA draft expert. He's going to join us. The NBA draft starts on Wednesday night.
Oh, Wednesday night.
And then now the second round is Thursday. If you remember, they split it up last year for the first time because Bronny James was a second-round pick. So they split it into two. Now, this year, they haven't gone back. I'll make a bold prediction. Next year, it'll be a one-day event again.
It should be.
Because it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to divide 30 picks into one day.
It did when Bronny was coming out.
It's the very rare exception where the story of the draft is a second-round pick.
Actually, you know who started that movement? Imani Bates.
If only we were in day 2 coverage.
Second round coverage matters now.
I guess it does. Well, for another year or so. I agree with you, Mike. Like, what are the ratings going to be of night 2?
Point
something.
Minuscule.
Point something, yeah.
This is a weird draft to begin with anyway.
Anybody see the final numbers for the NBA Finals, ratings-wise?
I've been waiting for them. I haven't seen the official.
Yesterday's game was big. It's the first game 7 since the Cavs in 16.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that, but I haven't seen the ratings. As soon as I do, I'll bring it up. It was a great series overall, obviously. Ended with a little bit of disappointment with Haliburton tearing his Achilles. And we'll get to that in 1 second.
Yeah.
But
one question before we move on. Is this now 7 straight years where we've had a different champ?
It is, correct.
This is what they want.
Yep.
This is it.
This is good for the sport.
This is Silver's NBA. I think so, too. They're just going to have to take it on the chin on the years when they get 2 small market teams like they did this year. You know, that's death. You get Indy and Oklahoma City, that is death.
Yeah, but only the league cares about that. The fans don't care about that.
The fans couldn't care less.
Yeah.
However, the league is built on the premise that your NBA Final Series is going to go 7 games and is going to do monster ratings.
Right.
That's how the ratings. That's how the rate cards are set.
Yeah.
And when you're down 25%, that means your revenue is going to be down 25%, and that's a big hit on the league. Big hit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally don't care about that, but the league wanted parity.
They did. Careful what you wish for. Yeah.
And they've got it.
So you want to hear a crazy stat real quick?
Sure.
I heard this morning, so I hope it's correct. I heard this from Bill Simmons, so he's usually pretty accurate. David Stern, in 30 years as commissioner of the NBA,
I know where this is going.
Crowned 8 unique champions.
Yep.
So 8 different teams in 30 years.
That was the years of the Lakers and the Celtics.
Mike obviously thinks we're dumb because he had to clarify what 8 unique
I don't think
meant.
you guys are dumb. I want to make sure everyone else
Heavily
watching
insulted.
understands
Our
exactly what I
viewers might
mean.
be.
In the 15 years that Adam Silver has been commissioner of the NBA, last night was the 9th unique champion he has crowned.
So you got 7 in a row. That does not include the Cavs.
Nope.
And then the Cavs go back 9 years.
That's 8.
So that's 8. So that means in the other 7 years, there's only been 2.
Was the Warriors? Well, it's
Warriors won 4.
And then the Spurs.
Lakers.
The Spurs was his first. Yep.
Hey, how many different teams have been in the finals? That would be interesting to know.
Teams in the finals?
The last 7 years, we've had 7 different champions. Like, the ultimate parity would be if you had 14 different teams playing for those championships.
Yeah.
That means in the last 7 years, you haven't had a repeat finals team.
I don't even think the early years for Adam Silver matter because they changed the system.
Well, no, but
Yeah.
Silver changed the system, and you're seeing the results.
Right, exactly.
Jay,
listen,
you're pretty close, by the way.
I want to say 9.
there's a lot of different teams.
9.
You ready? These are the matchups.
I bet there's 12.
These are the matchups the last couple of years.
Okay.
So the Thunder Pacers this year.
Yep.
New.
You're the Celtics Mavericks last year.
4.
New.
Nuggets Heat.
6.
Warriors Celtics. So it's your first
8.
7.
7.
Bucks Suns.
9.
9.
Lakers Heat.
Bucks, Suns.
10. Yeah, right.
Nope, we already had the Heat, so just 1.
Yeah.
So 9.
I said
Okay.
10.
Yeah.
We already had the Heat, so they don't count again.
Don't
I
count.
said 1 to get us to 10.
1 gets us to 9. We were
Yeah,
at 8.
we were at 8, weren't we?
We were at
9.
8, yeah. 8 plus 1's 9.
No, you're wrong, but go ahead. Because
How is 8 plus
we had
1?
to be at a knot. We had only had one.
No, we had
double up
2.
before that.
We had 2. With Celtics
We had 2
was
before
double.
that, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
9. And then in 19, it was the Raptors versus the Warriors. So that gets
That's
you to 10.
Yeah.
And then the Cavs would be 11, and then you had the run on again. So 11 different teams.
In 7 years.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in 8 years. 8 years.
That's insane.
Crazy.
That
Parity.
I would argue that injuries played roles in that parity.
Well, that leads us right to where we're going to get, G. So before you give me that thought.
Injuries.
Yeah, I think what G is saying is that we're seeing injuries to major
players.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is that new just in 7 years?
Bird had the back. Jordan was relatively healthy. He broke his leg once.
Going back a long way there.
Golden State, when Golden State was ripping off all their wins,
got hurt.
They were very, very healthy.
When KD got hurt, that's when the Raptors won.
The difference is also that because there's not one team that's so loaded, that a key injury is a bigger deal than it used to be.
Maybe, because you had 3 superstars before you could hide one. The other interesting thing about this is we're in the era of load management. How's that working out?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
How's that working out?
We see that in baseball, too. We're in load management.
Sure.
Call it that,
remember when pitchers used to throw 160 pitches and never got hurt?
Yeah.
I'm willing,
now they throw 90, they're done, and they can't avoid Tommy John.
I'm willing to go backwards. I actually think that there is a certain thing that you need to be able to do, like to build yourself up.
I agree with you. I agree with you, G. I agree with you. And we made that point when the Knicks were the team, or I think it was the Knicks playing everybody.
Yeah.
Opposite of the Cavs. Opposite
of the Cavs. Opposite. Cavs come in. Everybody had. I mean, you talk about load. They're the poster children for load management, and they get 3 critical injuries in the second round of the playoffs, and they're gone.
Right, but the Knicks play hard every day, and they had critical injuries too.
They did have 1 critical injury, right?
They had 2 guys that were hurt.
I don't buy that the Cavs got injuries because they did load management.
We'll never know.
I mean,
I don't think there's a way to know.
No,
but. I'm with you. If you run 30 miles, you're used to running 30.
Yeah.
If you run 20 and you're asked to run 30, that last 10 is going to be a bear.
Yeah.
I mean, you can push your human limit, but you've got to push it. You've got to know where it is.
Yeah, them camps be tough. What you got, McNuggets?
Yeah, let's get our read, and then we'll dive into kind of what we were talking about, but in a little different light. But summer sports, guys, are now in full swing. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You've already been following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get started. I want to ask about the Haliburton injury and stuff in a second, but I want to start with this facet following Game 7, following the Thunder Championship, and following the news that we got this morning, which is Tyrese Haliburton suffered an Achilles injury and will likely miss, if not all of, a majority of next season. The NBA and FanDuel released its 2025-2026 title odds for next season, and if you haven't seen them yet, here you go. The Thunder, the favorites, the heavy favorites, they have the shortest odds since the Warriors repeat as champions next season at plus 220. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the second shortest odds at plus 650. The Knicks at plus 700. The Rockets, after acquiring Kevin Durant, at plus 850. And the Magic, who made a blockbuster deal of their own right to get Desmond Bane, open up the season at plus 950.
Hey, Mike, quick question. Was this after the game?
After the game, correct.
Okay, because I wonder what they would have been had Haliburton not had the season.
I have no idea because they didn't put it out
prior.
I
know. I'm just curious. They certainly would have been in the top 5.
Do the Celtics have to trade somebody? They have to?
They've said they're going to.
They're going to. New ownership. This would be their 3rd year in the second apron, which brings on the ultimate penalty tax. They would literally lose a first-round pick.
And their new owner has said,
their new owner said, I'm not paying all that.
We're not doing that.
I'm just surprised they're not in the top 5 without even knowing what they're going to do. Like right now, they're...
Well, Tatum's out for most of the year.
You assume
Tatum's out for the year, too.
That's right.
For the year.
So the question I wanted to
Tatum
ask...
and Haliburton knocked the Celtics and the Pacers out because they certainly would have been in the top 5.
And if the Celtics were healthy and if Tatum was healthy, regardless of what they did financially,
they'd
the
probably
Celtics
still be
would
in the top 5.
In the top 5. So that's what I want to start with real quick. The East... Next season, you have the uncertainty of the Celtics with what they'll do with their roster. We know Tatum's going to miss, if not the entire season, most of the season. The Pacers, who lost in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, will be without Tyrese Haliburton for most, if not all, of the next season. You have the uncertainty in Philadelphia with whether Joel Embiid can stay healthy or not. Paul George. The Cavs open up the season with the second shortest odds to win the title, the best odds in the Eastern Conference. G. Bush, has there ever been a better opportunity for a team looking to get over that hump than the current landscape of the Eastern Conference for the Cavs right now? It's as wide open as I could possibly imagine.
You know, I was joking yesterday. Y'all was on the text, and y'all was having a nice little conversation back and forth about the finals. And I said, look, Haliburton got hurt. Look, do the Cavs need to make a trade now? All of a sudden, y'all looking like y'all pretty good. But I got to stick to my guns a little bit and say this. To me, I don't think you can look at your team based on what other people don't do or what other people will.
That's
right. Like, I got to look at my team and I got to overdo it. I'm Project Stockpile. I've been losing in the second round, and I've lost in the second round to multiple teams. You've lost to the Knicks, you lost to the Pacers, and you lost to the Celtics. So I'm looking around, and I'm looking at the Orlando Magic, and the Orlando Magic are saying, oh, the East is wide open. If you think Evan Mobley's going to take a little step, we think Paolo Banchero is going to take, and Wagner are going to take a step. We feel like we got the same core as you guys. So they're looking at this thing like, hey, we could be back. The New York Knicks are like, listen, remember, they just went to the finals in the East. Cat has been there, a year?
This will be his second year.
This will be his second year. Everybody looks better their second year. They'll figure it out with Brunson, and they added a lot of pieces. So for me, I don't look at this as like, oh, the Cavs are going straight to the finals. Nah, bro, there's a lot of other people that's going to be looking around that's going to say we better or that might make moves. So for me, I'm still looking to tweak my team. I'm still looking at Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro. I'm trying to get under the tax and try to figure something out. And look, I'm even looking in the draft. I got to find some people. Like, I get the fact that it's a second-round pick. They got a second-round pick?
Two of them.
Two
of the second-round picks.
I need you to do something with them. Figure something out. They're long shots, but
that's your edict.
Hit
on those second-round picks.
The hit on them picks, bro. You better hit.
But that's like buying a scratch-off.
It
is.
You
filled your tank. You go in. You're like, yeah, give me one.
Hopefully, Jalen.
You might get your money back if you're lucky.
Right. But I'll take it.
But it's really hard to Mike went through, I think, one day last week and read the second-round picks in the NBA draft the last, 10 years. And you're like, okay, there was one.
There's a couple that have hit.
There was one notable hit.
Jokic is the biggest.
He's the guy that you're not going to get a guy that changes your franchise. That's once every 50 years.
Bro, that changed the NBA.
It did change the NBA.
He's a top 15 guy.
And also the way the teams look at players, and how they can make a difference. I agree with G. Bush exactly. Like, on the surface, you're like, okay, we got two big hunters from two of the big dogs that are hurt next year. The problem is there are other teams that are lurking, man. And what we know about the league now is you wash, rinse, repeat in 3 years, not 5 or 7 years like it used to be. Now, I know that on paper, OKC looks like, I don't know how anybody competes with OKC next year, barring an injury to SGA. That's the only way that NBA gets opened up next year. If he stays healthy next year, they repeat.
They went 7 games against Indiana.
I know they did, but that was an Indiana team that was just, their fairy tale ran out. It struck midnight last night when Haliburton got hurt. They're a great team. But, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how close are the Cavs? Well, one way you can figure out is how do you do against the league's best competition? The Cavs this year, regular season and playoffs, were 3-8 combined against the Thunder and the Pacers. Guys, that's not close. That's not, if it's one thing if you're 4-5 or you're 6-5. You're 3-8. That's a gap, guys.
You guys want to hear something crazy about the Pacers?
Sure.
Cavs matchup. The Cavs lost 10 games at home all season.
I know. I mentioned
playoffs.
this on the show once. Yeah.
They went 0-5 at home against the Pacers.
Think about that.
It really is an incredible, weird anomaly. And the Pacers beat the crap out of the Cavs. That's nothing against the Pacers. But they lost 10 home games all season, and 5 of them came to Indiana.
Mike, I think that this is one of those classic examples how in boxing styles make fights.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is just Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson. And I don't mean they're that big of an underdog. Buster Douglas's fight approach was Mike Tyson's kryptonite. And now that doesn't mean that he would win. He'd probably go 6-4 against the top 10 heavyweights in the world. He wasn't a great fighter, but his style gave Mike Tyson fits, and it shocked the world. And I think the Pacers' style is the absolute kryptonite for the Cleveland Cavaliers because, one, Indiana plays their tail off. Every second of that game is max effort. Where the Cavs, I think, take some stretches off, and they just don't have that heart and passion like the Pacers do.
When you watch the Pacers, right? Like, and I don't know, Haliburton is a great player, but I don't think the Pacers are going to fall off like that. These young dudes, Nembhard.
Well, you don't think they'll be back to the finals, do you? I don't.
Listen, the way they play defense.
I mean, he could be back by the playoffs.
I mean,
he would be. Well, there's a chance that he could be.
If you got Mather,
it's usually a 12 months.
And you got Nesmith, and you got Nembhard. Those guys are going to play more. The thing that gets me about the Pacers is the physicality of the on-the-ball defense, the toughness. When you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, unless they change the rules, hey, the Thunder play like it's 1987, and they let them play like that.
They do.
They got hands on you at all times. Dort is just Jalen Williams. Caruso, they're everywhere. And then they got SGA, who you cannot touch. You can't breathe on them. No. This the 88, 89 Bulls. They get to this mid-range
Although
game.
They called a foul on SGA when it was out of control. It was the breakaway they were talking about. Was it a travel? Was it not? He barely touched him.
Yeah, I hated that call.
That was a terrible. And I kept saying.
It was a travel too, by the way.
It was a
1,000% a travel.
And you know what? I think that they were looking at the game and they were like, let's keep clean it up. Let's keep it close. I mean, not that bucket kept it close, but it was a travel and that was not a foul. And under normal circumstances, I think both of those would have been called the other way.
Yes.
But I get what you're saying on SGA. Usually, if you look cross-eyed at SGA, you're getting a whistle.
Now, here's what I will say, though, too, Mike. We got to take into consideration if they don't move him, when is Darius Garland coming back? Mid-December?
December-ish.
Guys, I got to tell you, I just got an alert on my phone that said the FanDuel odds makers were busted for being high. This is the only thing that makes sense to me. The idea that this fraudulent Cavalier team would be the second best odds to win an NBA title is the biggest joke. The Cavs are the James Harden of NBA teams. Who trusts them in a big spot?
Can I make in their defense? And I slightly I get what you're saying. Here's what I think their thinking is. The Pacers were the team that stopped them in the East. I think that they think, and most people think that they usually in any sport, as soon as the game is over, the championship game, the odds come out. It's almost always the team that just won it. They're the best. They just proved they're the best. So I think they get the nod. I think the Pacers would have been number 2.
Sure.
But I think they looked at, okay, so who else? You're not going to put 2 teams in the West, particularly when
Why
OKC
would you
is
put the Knicks? What's the argument for the Cavs over the Knicks?
That's the only thing they could have done that I would have said okay.
The Knicks?
But look at the drop-off between the Cavs and the look at the payouts. The difference between the Cavs and the Thunder. One's plus 220, the other's plus 660 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they're telling you it's not close.
Yeah, right, sure. But the thing is, like, the Knicks have done and the Knicks have disappointed at the end against.
They've been to the finals,
but they've gone to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 of the last 3 years.
What are we seeing?
Well, they might be looking at it this way.
Yeah.
While the Pacers have the formula and the team to slow the Cavs, they may be looking, and Mike, you can jump in here, they may be looking at the head-to-head and think that Styles might not make that fight in favor of the Knicks like it did the Pacers.
Yeah, well, that's the most interesting thing about that is it couldn't be more wrong because we've seen every year
that one.
The Cavs have never won a series that mattered. Never.
No.
This team has done nothing. They've accomplished absolutely nothing. I don't care. The regular season doesn't matter. They've done nothing in the playoffs. 4 years ago, they got eliminated in the play-in round. 3 years ago, they got eliminated in the first round by the Knicks. 2 years ago, they got eliminated in the second round by the Celtics after their best series win is against an Orlando team that was new to the playoffs.
And that was close.
And that was close. That was 7 games.
And was getting blown out on the road.
They beat one of the worst playoff teams ever in Miami.
Yeah.
And then they got humiliated by Indiana. They have proven absolutely nothing, and it's I don't know what you'd have to be such a high-level moron to bet on the Cavs.
Well, can I ask you one question, Paul? And once again, I'm not even necessarily disagreeing. I'm just asking a question. Prior to last year, the Thunder had won nothing, and they were the favorites behind the Celtics. They started, take these odds right here.
I think the difference is they have the best player in the league.
Well, I'm just saying, last year the Thunder were the 1 seed.
Yeah,
right. Upset in the second
even
round.
Last year, like at the end of the year, everybody knew SGA was coming.
He was getting at 30.
Once again,
and Donovan Mitchell's a nice player.
Just asking the question.
But I don't think if
you looked at the 20-25 odds last year, if we did the exact same topic, number 1 was the Celtics, favorites to repeat. Number 2 was the Thunder, who had just lost in the second round as the 1 seed in the Western Conference.
First of all, it's not a good comparison, and here's why, Mike. The Cavs, before this year, were already a year ahead of the Thunder in their process, and now they've won a championship. It didn't take them. This is 4 years in a row that the Cavs have embarrassingly fell on their face in the playoffs.
And to Bull's point, I mentioned you take the 2 best teams. They were 3-8 collectively against the Thunder and the Pacers.
I'm not listening. I'm not disagreeing. I was just asking.
To be a big gap between the Cavs and the great teams.
I think sometimes because we're in Cleveland and we have a tendency to do this, we overvaluate a lot of our players because when you're not very good, or you don't have the track record of seeing great players all the time, the only reference we have is the 2016 Cavs and some of the older 80s teams, but they didn't get it done. So when you look at guys like Jared Allen or Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, there are people on the internet, this is crazy to me, there are people on the internet that still will say, oh, let's like they'll defend them and be like, oh, they got to play them, or you guys are so tough on Darius Garland. And it's like, listen, man, like when you watch the NBA and you go back, you're like, bro, this ain't Joe Dumars. This ain't like you know, you see what I'm saying? This ain't. We rank our guys like they're all time, and I'm like, are you watching these teams? Like, can you imagine the Cavs playing that style? They couldn't get the ball in court.
You know what was crazy last night? For a stretch, it looked like
Indiana
T.J. McConnell was going to just...
He's the best.
Yep.
Mike, why did they go away from that? Was that something that the Thunder were doing defensively to take him away? Because he scored 10 straight points for the Pacers, and he did it in a variety of different ways. He was blowing by defenders. Most of it was north and south.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up with 7 turnovers. He's incredible. I love McConnell.
God, I do too.
He's awesome, but he is best in 3-minute stretches where he comes in, he plays off the wall. There's only so many times he could do the same little
move in a row.
Yeah,
but God, there for a stretch, he scored 10 straight points.
So he's Ty Jerome.
With Ty Jerome,
no, it's
faster.
different than Ty Jerome.
He's actually.
You know what? When
I
was watching McConnell, I said, "Oh, he's a fast, athletic Ty Jerome."
Yeah.
Guys, the Cavs have one player on their roster that has shown up when the lights have been bright. That's it.
One.
That's it. Darius Garland hasn't. Mobley hasn't. Allen hasn't.
Not on a consistent basis.
No, they have not. And I know we got to give Mobley more time. You know, we'll be 3 years, 5 years from now, we'll still be saying we got to give him more time. And so I have no faith in them whatsoever being able to. They got to prove it. I'm not going to bet.
And I don't think
on
next
them.
year is their prove it year, because I just think OKC is in the front end of a window. A lot of times teams win the championship on the back end of their window. This has been a 6-year rebuild in OKC. And
they hit on everybody.
You would think that, it's 6 years, so their window's closing. No,
still
it's
wide
not.
Open.
It is
wide
just open.
Yeah, but if the Cavs got to the finals next year and lost to Oklahoma City, okay, that'd be a great year. What are you
it'd be a step forward.
But I have no faith they can. I'm not even worried about Oklahoma City. I have no faith they can get that.
I agree.
Here's the super cheat card, and this is why you brought up a really great point about the Cavs being ahead of where Oklahoma City was. But the thing about Oklahoma City is all their free agents hit. Hartenstein hits. Then when they drafted, all their drafts hit. The only person I could think that didn't hit was Giddey, and they got him out of there quick.
That kid from Minnesota,
Giddey's a hit.
7-footer.
And Caruso was a great
addition.
Giddey was a hit because you turned him into Caruso.
Right.
That was a great move.
So here's
and who's on the Cavs right now?
'They
have no depth.
If they want to cheat, if they really want to get cute, they got 1,000 first-round picks.
Yeah.
They can go get any superstar they want.
I got one more question. We're going to move to the Guardians in a second.
You got the best general manager in the sport, too.
Shout out to Emerson basketball alum Sam Presti.
Yes,
Shout
absolutely. I love that they gave an extended extended interview with him last night after the game, because honestly, I know SGA is the MVP, but let's face it, if Sam Presti's not there, this team isn't. They're not. He's the MVP.
He's in the conversation for best general manager in sports.
In sports,
right
not just the NBA. I think he's easily the best in the NBA.
They lost 3 MVPs.
I know.
How about drafting 3 MVPs back to back to back? By the way,
That's
3
wild.
years, and none of them were the first overall pick.
It's insane.
But I got a question.
It's
This is big picture before we talk Guardians.
God.
Tyrese Haliburton suffered the calf strain in Game 5.
Yeah.
He had talked about prior to last night saying, "It's Game 7. There's not a world where I'm not out there with my teammates trying to win a championship." We all know what happened. It looked like he tore his Achilles in the first quarter. After, by the way, he led the game in threes made last night. He played 7 minutes, had 3 threes that led the entire game, either team in threes.
That's kind of surprising that 3 threes led.
It looked like he was having one of those moments which he had all postseason where he raised his game to a high level. But obviously now he's in danger of missing all of next season. When we look at calf injuries moving forward, do you think we're going to change the way teams handle calf injuries in terms of guy strains a calf, he just automatically out 2 months? Like,
not in the playoffs.
Yeah, Mike.
You got to play.
I'm asking a question.
First round of the playoffs, but here's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people wanted. I got a couple texts from friends yesterday that said, you know, what was he doing playing? What was he doing playing? It's Game 7.
That's insane.
You don't know that you'll ever make it to another Game 7.
I agree with you guys. For the record, I don't want anyone putting this on me.
But
I would play.
If it's Game 1 or 2 or even 4, give them the rest you need. You see what happens. You tax the Achilles, and that thing is going to snap like a rubber band. And that's what he did.
For basketball, it's the Tommy John. You can't do nothing about it.
Baseball, you mean?
Yeah, it's the equivalent. You can't do nothing, but it's just. I feel like you got tread on the tire. You got 10,000 miles, but you can also get it punctured, and guess what? You got to get it fixed. But you never know when your Achilles is going to pop. You just don't. You can't predict it.
However, there is a greater likelihood if you've got a strained calf. There's a greater likelihood because it's just the use and disuse. Like you're gonna play as hard as you play, and he plays hard. Yeah. What happens is that muscle is strained. It's not able to carry the load, so other surrounding muscles will kick in. And you put too much stress on one of them and you blow it out.
I don't want to sound like an old dude, but when we played basketball in high school, it was, first of all, you couldn't wear no low tops.
I know. I can't believe the number of guys now that wear low tops
are now not only they're more common. I would say more than 50% of the league wears low
tops. Well more.
And McNuggets, we used to have tape.
I'm with you. In my day, you never thought about stepping on the court without high tops.
If you didn't have mids and taped, you had to get there. They're like, "Are you taped?" They'd be like, "Nah, I ain't taped." Go back in there. I don't know if there's a prevalence of that, but when I started seeing people playing out here in these bowling shoes, I said, "Them is bowling shoes." You out here sliding around in them little.
Well, you know
I see kids playing basketball in Crocs.
That's crazy.
You know who had the first super popular low top? The first super popular low top.
Wasn't it Harden or
no? It was the Kobe's, man.
Oh yeah.
It was. You're right.
Kobe made the first There were other low tops, but Kobe's became the first mainstream low top.
Fashion is very, very big to the players, to their brands, to their empires. But what gets me is there is no way I'm sacrificing my health so I look cool.
Your whole ankle is.
I know it.
Players do that all the time in all sports.
They do, but in basketball,
they won't wear those puffy helmets in the NFL.
The Guardian caps.
Because they don't look good.
Well, in hockey, when it was optional, a lot of guys would not wear the cage.
I
wouldn't do it.
I would like to hear maybe from an orthopedic person and say, is there a
how much support does the high top actually provide?
I have to imagine, and I don't know. I'll try looking this up. It might
be placebo.
It might be.
There's no way that all these brands, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, Puma, they all make low top sneakers now.
They have to.
I have to imagine if it was actually like scientifically proven to be less effective at protecting your ankle.
Well, that's a good question, Mike. I wonder if there was some sort of research project done.
I'll try to look it up by the end of the show.
What do you wear?
You wear high tops, don't you?
I always was a high top guy. I wear mids now. Just because you can't really find high. Like, the only high tops
they're out of style.
Are LeBrons and Durants, and I don't like how they fit my feet. So I wear Jaws now, which are mid tops.
And Kobe had, and it's funny you mentioned Kobe. Kobe had 1 year, which they sold wildly. He had a pair that almost looked like football shoes. When he tore his Achilles, he came back with these very high tops.
Yeah.
That were like more than
like boxing shoes.
There was. Remember,
it came up higher on the ankle.
And he wore those for a couple of years, but he went back. Eventually, retired in the lows again.
You know what's funny to me, and I'm old enough to remember it. I have a pair. The evolution of the basketball shoe. When you look at Chuck Taylor's, those were at the time revolutionary.
Chucks.
Now people wear them as fashion statements, but back in the day, it was really the first big basketball shoe.
And they have no ankle support.
There's
literally nothing.
No
piece
foot
of paper.
No foot support.
It is nothing there.
It is the same. It is
got the waffle bottom that's flat, no arch support.
Speaking of shoes, real quick, Bull, I never asked you. You wore Jordans to Dustin's wedding.
He did.
I did. I'm not wearing them today. They
actually
were not. They were a little tight, like on the bottom of my toes, like the toe box, if you will. But Dustin got them a size bigger because Nike, Jordans don't make wide shoes.
No, yeah.
So, but when I first put them on, they were a little uncomfortable. But then as I was wearing them, I kind of broke them in a little bit.
I want to see him rock them on the show one day.
I'll bring them in. I'll bring them in sometime soon.
All right,
sweet.
Cool.
All right, let's talk a little Guardians, guys. Our Guardians topic today is brought to us by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you haven't heard of them, meet your new favorite financial partner. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local institution offering everything from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans with some of the lowest rates in Northeast Ohio. Their Cleveland branch is in Shaker Heights, which is one of 5 locations across the state, making it easy to find one near you. If you can't get to a branch, no problem. They make banking simple with digital banking, what sets them apart. They make banking personal and convenient at Buckeye. The focus is you. Their core values, connect, simplify, and adapt, guide everything they do, bringing people together, cutting through the clutter, and are innovative. To learn more, visit buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. The Guardians got swept by Seattle. We thought the sky was falling. Then they proceed to win 4 of 6 to close out their West Coast road trip with some stellar pitching over the weekend from Luis Ortiz and Slade Cecconi. Bull, Cecconi's looking good, man. Every time he's out there, I come away beyond impressed with the young right-hander. Over his last 4 starts, he has a sub-2.5 ERA. Last night, again, another shutout. The Guardians' 9th shutout win of the season.
Yeah, he's pitched great. Obviously, I've been critical of the trade because they traded Naylor, who would be their second best run producer, and his bat. But at least they have done a good job with Cecconi. He's a former first-round pick, much like another former Guardian that they got from Arizona, Trevor Bauer, who I think gave up 7 runs in the Japanese League game yesterday in 1 inning. The Guardians are crazy. They're great. They're one of the top 3 teams in baseball at developing pitching, and they're one of the bottom 3 teams in baseball at developing hitting. It is remarkable how great they are at developing pitching and how inept they are at developing hitting. But the pitching was great. Cecconi's been fantastic. Luis Ortiz has been great. Gavin Williams pitched a great game this week. Bybee had a weird game. He gave up 4 or 5 runs, but struck out 11.
And went the distance.
Yeah, it was a really weird game for him. But the difference this week was the pitching went from good to great. Doesn't really change my opinion on the overall team. The lineup's not good enough for them to be legit contenders if nothing changes. They continue to refuse to call up their top prospects. They have not made any moves to get better. So I don't understand what they're doing with the lineup.
Can I ask
but right
you a
now, the
question
pitching
that
is
might
great.
blow your mind? Your head might pop off your body.
Yeah.
Why isn't Austin Hedges catching every day?
He can't hit?
What's his average?
I don't know.
Bo Naylor's hitting 175, Bull.
I mean, what's Austin Hedges hitting?
You don't want to know.
It's got to be higher than 175, isn't it?
I doubt it.
Austin Hedges this season is hitting 111.
Oh, my God.
Oh!
That's the answer.
If you combine the two Guardians catchers, they're hitting 286.
What?
Yeah. Or
You add it up like an OPS.
or 143.
Yeah, I mean.
That's funny.
Wait, their OPS combined real quick. What's 462 plus 665?
Yeah, 1,080.
You know what's
That's a good one
interesting to me
too.
about that, Bull, is there is this theory in baseball.
Yeah.
And it never used to exist. Well, he's a catcher.
Yeah, why does that matter? Why is
But
that?
when we were young, in the Johnny Bench era, and go back even further, Yogi Berra,
Yeah.
those guys produced.
Cal Raleigh has 31 homers.
I know he does.
No,
love
I don't
that.
agree. I don't think there's that sentiment there. I mean,
No, Bull, do you
could-
ever say this about any other position player?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Second
but you know
baseman.
what?
He's a first baseman.
Back in
Second
the day,
baseman.
You
no,
can't
they
do
used
that.
to do that about shortstop back in the day.
They used to, and then
Yeah.
Cal Ripken came along, and they were like, "Whoa,
Right,
hold on."
but-
And Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez.
Ozzie
I
Smith.
get it. It's hard. I don't.
204.
My expectations for a catcher offensively are going to be lower than other players because of the demand that the
I
catchers
understand
do.
that.
But not this.
But you
don't-
can't have
But
that.
let's face it, Austin Hedges is not a major league player. I mean, he's not a major league player. It's absurd. They paid him $4 million.
Well, at
That's
this
a waste.
point, I don't know that Bo is either.
Well, that's a lot better than Austin Hedges.
Scott, you can't hit 178. You can't. It's a hole in the lineup.
I
He's
know
running
that.
to 9. I
but
get
they
that.
got holes in the line. You know, somebody said to me the other day, he goes, you know, if you look back at that 2016 lineup for the Guardians, it wasn't that great, or the Indians. It wasn't that great.
compared to this one.
Well, any lineup. Yeah, so I was actually looking at it today.
We had holes.
So the average OPS in 2016 was 740. Wow. Right now, this year it's 711.
Okay.
So the average OPS in 2016 was 740. Of the now they had some, they platooned in right field,
Sure.
and you know, there was some guys in and out of the lineup. But of the guys that played the most at each spot of the 9 spots, how many Indians in 2016 do you think had an OPS over 740 out of the 9 guys?
2.
No, opposite, 7.
Oh, really?
So this is
So
revisionist
the
history.
platoon guys really brought things down.
Well, no, not really. Actually, the platoon in right field was Tyler Naquin and Brandon Geyer. And Naquin, that was his one really good year.
Yeah, he did have a good
and
year
Brandon
that year.
Geyer against lefties was a killer. Had
I know
over
he
a
did. I
900
know.
OPS.
Yeah, but
And
Bonnie
Naquin's
Chisenhall
OPS
was good that year. That's his one good year in center
did have
field.
a good year.
But they got, or in right field.
Right field.
Obviously, they had Jose and Lindor. Kipnis was really good. Santana was in his prime.
That team.
Can I give you the Bolt? I have the OPSs in front of me. Can I read you these real quick, just so everyone's on the same
Yeah, they're
page?
all over 800. Like 5 guys are over 800.
Yeah, Geyer 907, and he only played 38 games, but it was mostly against lefties. Naquin,
Well, they traded for him. They traded for him at the deadline, so he's only there for
Plus,
2
are
months.
I mean, I don't know if we want to count those guys either.
No, I wasn't. But Geyer was great in his role. He was there.
Yeah,
he
right.
was their lefty. He would hit against lefties. He would play the outfield against lefties the final 2 months of the year, and he was outstanding.
He was great.
Naquin 886.
Yeah, he was great that year, Naquin.
Oh my God.
Santana 865.
Yeah.
Jose 825. Kipnis 811. Mike Napoli 800. Lindor
Napoli.
Nap.
795.
Yep.
Marlon Bird
No, those guys didn't play.
Chisenhall
Yeah,
760.
Chisenhall started.
767.
The only 2 regular players that were under 740 were Rajai Davis, who had 40-something steals. I think he had a 690 OPS. didn't he?
693 with 48 steals.
Which is so funny. Like he had the. I mean, I know we didn't win it, but he had the big hit in Game 7.
Right. And then the only guy who he had some good offensive years for the Indians, but not this year. Jan Gomes didn't hit well that year.
I liked Jan Gomes.
yeah, that's
But he was
accurate.
a great defensive catcher, and normally he was at
defensively.
least a solid hitter.
He gave us
so they had a good
offensive
yes, you got
production,
stuck
but
with,
now, and I wonder because Stephen Vogt was of that ilk. He wasn't an offensive juggernaut. He was a good defensive catcher and had a nice career
well,
doing
he was a
that.
better hitter than these guys.
Well, anybody
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
You are.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
so
it's-
I just feel like we've lowered the bar to this point where this is acceptable. If they were playing any other position, they wouldn't be everyday players.
yeah, and it's great that the pitching is keeping them in it and it's giving them a chance.
And what are we hearing about Bieber? Has he thrown yet?
Nope.
He is not. No.
Okay, now I know Jason said setback, bump in the road. I'm officially concerned.
Yeah, well, I mean,
this is way too long to
the
shut him down
All-Star break
completely.
is 3 weeks away.
I know.
We were hoping he'd pitch right after the break. I
know,
don't see
but
that.
I was Jason and I were talking afterwards, and we said, well, you know what? Yeah, you're going to have some soreness, especially when you start to stretch it out.
Right.
This is a long shutdown period, guys. This is 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
You don't shut someone down 3 weeks because they had your traditional regular throwing soreness.
Right.
This scares me. And the fact that it's been radio silent. We haven't heard a word.
That's true.
That is terrifying to me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't know. Listen, right now you're getting nothing out of catcher.
Nothing.
Okay, they were benching Manzardo every day. Thankfully, they're starting to play him again.
Yeah.
Carlos Santana's OPS is now down to 680. I know he's got 30 ribbies, as if that's some great accomplishment that some people think it is.
30? Well, because on this team it's a lot.
I mean, that's.
But most teams have 3 or 4 guys with more.
Oh, at least.
We have 1 guy with more.
At least. David Fry's giving you nothing. He should be in the minors right now.
I know.
Nolan Jones has done very little.
Nolan Jones
no
squared one
out
up
of right
yesterday.
field. He does it like once every few games.
I know, and it's so enticing.
Nothing out of second,
so
nothing
big.
out of short. I mean, what are we doing here?
I know.
I don't know why Kafis and DeLauder are not. I'll say it every week. Why are these guys not in the majors?
This is why nobody. I was just over here as you guys are going down this brutal lineup, and I was just looking at them. You know, we know that Indians had a great lineup back in the day. I was just looking at other placebo teams. Do you know the '97 Mariners? Darren Wilson had 15 home runs. Paul Sereno had 31. Joey Cora had 11. A-Rod, who was 12 years old, had 23. Russ Davis had 20. Jose Cruz had 12. Griffey had 56. Jay Buhner had 40. And Edgar Martinez had 28. They didn't win a thing. And we're not even talking about the Orioles lineup where they had it was wild.
Yeah.
We're not. What the hell happened, Jay? Where we got to the point
Well,
where
that was the cusp of the steroid era, too.
I mean, well, start delivering them again. Just give them these, put them in Tylenol Chulo. This is wild that we are talking about guys batting 115, 113, no power.
And the redeeming quality offensively about Bo Naylor is that he's got 9 home runs.
9 home runs.
9 home runs is mid.
At
9 home
best.
runs in July, when we're almost in July.
Yeah, we're about the halfway point of the season.
Well, okay, so maybe you're going to hit 20, and that's like
That's okay.
That's an accomplishment. It's okay, but hell, the Mariners catcher has over 20 already.
But he's got 20 RBIs.
That's crazy.
Because you know why? Because nobody gets on base.
No, but but
That's almost impossible to do. By the way,
the Cubs
that is almost impossible to do.
The Cubs had a catcher once. Mike, can you look this up?
Of course.
The Cubs had a catcher, I don't know, it was the 80s, and I can't remember what year it was, named Rick Wilkins, who I believe had like 30 homers and finished the year with 60 RBIs.
That's crazy.
Oh my.
65, something like that.
He must have hit like 9th, right?
He had 30 homers and 73 ribbies.
How many? What was it?
73 ribbies.
How many homers?
30.
That's still
30. Okay, that was close.
I mean,
30 homers to only have 73 ribbies?
What is that? What is what is the organization's stance on hitting? Like we hear no, for real, like we hear them say I hear them say they lay out beautiful plans for what they're gonna do with the stadium. They beautiful plans what they do with pitchers. Beautiful
because
plans.
the stadium they use other people's money.
I mean, what is their approach? Like, hey guys, why don't we tweak something in the minors? Are we prospecting? Are we picking the wrong guys? Are we going after a different type of
that's
athlete?
the Bulls' point. Like our development of hitters, particularly when you compare it to our development of pitchers, like
couldn't be more extreme.
It couldn't be more extreme.
No.
We turn guys that are mid to late round draft picks that no one heard of into 18-game winners. The track record is there.
Or look at Cecconi, who struggled last year mightily.
Yeah, Cecconi.
Well,
we got him in a trade.
I like that one.
No, but I'm saying he comes into the system, and after a bad year in Arizona,
in fairness, he was a first-round pick and didn't pitch much in Arizona.
Boyd
didn't pitch well.
Boyd came in, pitched well, and he's still pitching well, right?
Yeah,
he was.
He's been
I haven't
awesome
looked
in Chicago.
lately.
So
he's got an ERA under 3.
I mean,
and G, to your point, it doesn't help that
would have been good to keep him.
4 of the top 8 picks in last year's Major League Baseball draft are now in the majors.
And the number 1 is hurt.
The guy that guards took at 1 has not been up to that standard in the minors, and now is hurt.
And did you see the catch he made yesterday in right field? He robbed a home run.
Oh, really?
He's a big guy. He's 6'5".
He's huge.
He robbed a home run.
They had the dude. I think the other guy that was a third baseman is a monster too. Was the kid from
Condon.
Yeah, he was a monster.
He hasn't been in the big leagues yet.
Hey,
no, he's not yet.
I don't know, man. I just don't know.
And Bazzana's not going to make it this year, so He's going to have 2 years, really 1.5, because by the time the draft is over and he was assigned, it was probably July, because the draft is in June.
Yeah.
So he probably played, 50, 60 games last year, maybe a little more. And then he got off to a rough start this year. So, but you know what it is, Bull, too? And I don't know how you project this, but our injury record, our track record with injuries over the last 7 years.
I know.
Our biggest prospects washed out because they couldn't stay on the field.
Well, you look at it since Lindor, the Guardians have not had a top 10 prospect pan out. There are only 2 hitters, hitting-wise, not pitching.
Yeah.
The only 2 hitters that are good major leaguers since Lindor are Ramirez and Kwan, who came out of nowhere. They traded for Naylor, but you look at the laundry list of guys. We mentioned some of them before that had one good year: Naquin, Chisenhall, Zimmer, Clint Frazier. None of these guys, and then this current group. Now, it's not too late for this current group, but so far, Naylor, Rocchio, Arias, none of these guys look like legit starting major league players.
No, they don't.
It's so frustrating because the pitching is definitely good enough to win a World Series.
You're not going to hit the free agent market.
Right.
If you list the free agents that they've invested in, some of them hit, but most of them didn't. And you're not going to develop hitting talent, then you are what you are.
Yeah.
You're going to be a team that's stacked with pitching, but I know that pitching wins in October, but you've got to score.
Yeah, you can't.
And because you're going against aces, they make great hitters, Hosey, look average, and they make average hitters, which we have a lot of, look bad.
No chances.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating. The next 2 weeks is going to be interesting because you're facing their next 5.
They're home now. In fact, the game tomorrow is on WKYC.
It is, and we have the Lockdown Blue Jays host tomorrow joining us to preview that game.
Good.
They have 6 series before the break. You got Toronto, who's playing great. St. Louis, who's solid. The Cubs, who have been scuffling the last week, but overall they've been very good. Detroit's been great. And then after Detroit, they've got Houston, who's really good. They end with the White Sox. We should change that to say Cubs instead of Chicago, Mike.
Yeah, because
we'll clarify.
Yeah. But so their next 5 series, they have 15 games.
Are you going to Wrigley for those?
I'm not.
Any of those?
I'm actually going to Toronto to see the Cubs play the Blue Jays in August. But
that's a midweek series. I imagine tickets could be had still for Wrigley. Their weekends are always sold out. But July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, it'd be a great time to sit in the bleachers and watch a ball game at Wrigley.
Is Detroit like 17 games above 500?
No, they're more than that.
No, they're 19, I think. Yeah,
I think
they're 19 over.
They are cooking.
Most wins in baseball.
I predicted them on the show to win the division.
Good call.
I did too. But I had Cleveland, Kansas City, and Minnesota finishing within 5 games.
Are you guys surprised at how generally mid the division is outside of the Tigers?
Yes. Yeah. There's only think of this.
Surprised at the Royals.
If not for Cleveland winning its last 2, you've got one team over 500.
Yeah.
In the division, and we thought Minnesota, Kansas City, and Cleveland were all going to be really, really good and at least contend. But at this point, they're in cruise control mode. Got an that's game lead.
Most of the American League is like that. The Guardians at the moment are tied for the 3rd wild card spot.
They are, yeah.
So there's a lot of mid teams.
But there's 6 of them within 3 games of them.
Yeah, right.
So there's 9 teams fighting for 3 spots.
Who's got the second best record in the American League right now? The Yankees or the Astros? Or
the Yankees by half a game.
Over the Astros?
Correct.
What's the Yankees' record? Because they haven't been playing well.
45-32.
Yeah,
and the Astros are 45-33.
Right.
And the Yankees at 13 over 500. Not long ago, I think they were 18 over 500. They've been playing horrible.
They're 3-7 in the last 10.
Yeah. There you go.
If they wouldn't have made the trade and you just kept Naylor, Jimenez, what do you think the record would be?
Well, you could take Cecconi out of the mix.
Well, you wouldn't have Luis Ortiz.
And you wouldn't have Ortiz either.
Do you think the
record? And those guys that won our last 2 games.
Do you think their record would be better?
Probably worse.
Or worse?
I don't know that it would be worse. I'm not convinced of that.
Or wash.
Because, Naylor's
having a good year.
Huge difference in the lineup. He was their second most productive hitter.
Yeah, but Santana has, what is the difference in production between Santana this year and Naylor?
God, it's huge.
Huge?
I think it's huge, yeah.
Can you look that up?
So this is Santana's stats, and then I'll give you Naylor's.
Okay.
So that's Santana. Naylor's hitting 303.
Oh, wow.
He ain't never hit 300.
No, not that.
No,
Carlos Santana. Steve, give me Carlos Santana stats. Up four graphics. This is Carlos Santana versus Josh.
He's got him by almost 70 points in average.
So 303 versus 236.
Right.
9 homers for Naylor.
That's pretty close.
8 for Santana. 49 ribbies for Naylor. 36 for Santana, and the OPS biggest difference.
Yeah,
823 for Josh.
That's big.
685.
But he's only hit one more home run than.
But that's just one stat.
No,
he's
I know
way
it is.
better
I know
player.
it is, but
that might be career numbers. He's never hit 300. He's always been around.
Yeah, and he'll hit a lot more home runs. The home runs are lower right now, but an 800-something OPS is all-star.
Great.
680 is below average. I mean, it's a massive difference there.
Man.
Now, you could have still made that trade. You could have signed, instead of wasting money on Austin Hedges and Paul
who replaces
Sewald.
Cecconi and Ortiz in the lineup?
Well, I mean, in theory, you could have kept Naylor. You still have Ortiz if you didn't trade Jimenez. Ortiz was part of the Jimenez trade.
Yeah.
So you didn't have.
Oh, well, that makes it. I like that. Let me go with that route.
And I mean, Cecconi's pitched really well for his last 4 or 5 starts.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Even he had some losses, Bull, where he pitched well and just took the L.
Yeah, he hasn't made enough starts. I think Naylor would have impacted winning more than Cecconi has to this point. But we'll see. I mean, the problem is they could have developed somebody else because they're good at that with pitching.
Yeah,
but
they may have.
Naylor's back in this lineup would have made a pretty big difference.
But
they were a much better offensive team with him last year than they were. Last year they were a middle-of-the-road offensive team. They're not this year.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is, but if they don't, I can't wait to see what they do at the break. Are they going to fire sale? Are they going to be sellers over buyers? Are they going to try to add a piece?
If they're at this point where they're a game and a half out of the wild card, is that?
No, they're tied for the third wild card.
Tied for a wild card.
Yeah.
They can't become sellers at this point, right?
They did. That's exactly what they did 2 years ago.
I know it was Savali, a little different scenario because they weren't actually in the wild. They were 2 games out at the moment.
They were 2 games out of a playoff spot. They were 2 games out of the division lead when they did that.
If I were them, I would trade Clase for the right deal.
Boy, he was dicey again yesterday. He loaded the bases. He got out of it.
How old is Clase? Ain't he sneaky?
No, he's still I think 30 maybe.
I don't think he's 30.
I'll tell you right now, I don't think he's 30
high
either.
20s or 30.
Clase is 27 years old.
Yeah,
Oh man, you
and he turned 27 this year already.
Get some pieces, dog.
Oh no, he's definitely going to attract some
for
attention.
For a contender, you put him especially
particularly because there's so many teams that need a closer.
I think it's a no-brainer to trade Clase right now. It's an absolute must. There's no other way for them to get better
especially because they've got a replacement for him. Cade Smith is going to be fine.
Yeah.
He's absolutely closer material.
Now, I remember you saying closers are overrated a little bit. Yes, you could you could find somebody to put it at.
There's so many hard. Now, listen, there's some guys that can't pitch in the 9th inning. It's a mental hurdle. But there's so many good young arms that throw hard now.
Yeah, I agree with that, Bull. And the other thing too is it's really hard to be a good closer for a long stretch.
That's right. That's right. It's
and
very rare.
So in the case of Clase, the reason teams may not be interested in Clase, they want a guy they think is on the way up, Cade Smith, not a guy that they could argue is on the way down. I know at 27, but these guys, the Trevor Hoffmans of the world, the Mariano Riveras of the world, the guys who have 20-year careers even Eckersley, who before these guys, and Smoltz, 2 of the greatest to ever do it, they were long-time starting pitchers before they became closers. So the track record of guys who have been elite closers for more than 5-10 years, it's small.
Right, and that's why I would trade Clase, and teams will absolutely be interested because the big market teams,
they're going for today's window.
They're trying to win now.
Yeah, they're not thinking 5 years.
Even if he stinks in the next few years, he's getting paid nothing. So what's the difference?
Let me make an addendum to that. Freaking Aroldis Chapman is still getting done.
He had kind of declined.
He did, but
now he's bounced back.
Right back up to the dominance that he.
And I've seen him throw on 105. I said, this is. Ain't you supposed to be done?
Try to hit a BB. Try to go and if I have a BB gun and I stand at home plate and I fire it, try to hit that. That's what it's like trying to hit.
Let me tell you something about closers. If I went and named the closers for all 30 teams,
I wouldn't know none of them.
The average fan wouldn't have heard of 25 of them.
You're absolutely right.
And some of them are really good. There's guys you may not have heard of that might be super elite.
Yes, that is the case. But however, Clase is the guy that's probably got the longest track record of dominance.
Exactly.
Outside of
which
Chapman.
is why if you're the Cubs, if you're the Dodgers,
make the move.
If you're the Rangers, if you're the Tigers, again, that's tricky within the division.
If
you're the Astros, if you're the who else in the National League?
We got him from
the Astros have a really good closer.
Oh, you're not the Astros.
Yeah, we got him
Phillies.
from the Astros, too.
If you're the Philly, no, you got him from the Rangers.
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 If
you're the Phillies,
Corey Kluber,
all these teams.
National League team would be nice because they ain't no book. They ain't seen him.
No, I know, man.
No book of business.
So his first trip through everybody.
To prove Bo's point.
You want me to name the closer on every team off the top of my head?
No. Oh. I'm gonna make it even better.
He probably could. He plays fantasy.
I know Bo could. That's why. I'm gonna name you the top 10 guys in saves. You tell me what team they play for.
This is great.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
This guy leads Major League Baseball in saves this year. Carlos Estevez. What team does he play for?
I know Emilio Estevez. That's the Mighty Ducks.
Can I say it before?
Sure.
Yeah. Say it.
Yeah.
No clue.
Jay, do you know?
I wanted to say Boston, but I don't
You guys
think
should know this one. He's in the division.
No clue.
The Royals.
Oh. He was a failed Rockies starting pitcher, and then he went to the Angels and became a closer
That's
eventually.
not uncommon, really.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have done that.
No clue.
Jose Mesa thought he was going to be
A lot of them.
a starter.
Well, Mariano Rivera was a starter his first year.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We're waiting on our guest, so once our guest is ready, we'll
go ahead.
move on.
Next
So we'll
one.
keep going. Robert Suarez, he has 21 saves this year.
He's been very good for a couple of years.
I don't know who that is.
He's on the Padres.
Steve said Phillies need Clase bad.
That's what I said.
They don't have a closer.
Their
Josh
bullpen stinks.
Josh Hader.
Josh Naylor?
No, Hader.
No, I know who he's talking about. No.
Astros.
Emilio Pagan.
Pagan.
There's no pronunciation on ESPN.
Rangers.
Cincinnati.
Kyle Finnegan.
I didn't realize he was fifth in saves, Kyle Finnegan.
Kyle Finnegan.
Tied for fourth with Clase.
I know Cortland Finnegan.
Finnegan's the Nats.
How many? This is off the topic, but who leads in blown saves? Is Clase?
No, he hasn't blown a lot of saves.
Well, he's got 4 wins. He's 4-0.
Right, but those weren't all. A lot of those bad appearances were not saves. They might have been tie games.
Yeah,
or
maybe
whatever.
when they were tied.
Go ahead, Mike. Who's next?
I'm looking up most blown saves real quick. Most blown saves.
Jeff Hoffman.
Hoffman's on this list. Andres
Munoz.
How many does he have?
No. This is just next guy. I got 3 tabs. I'm looking for blown saves right now.
Oh,
okay.
G, do you know what team Andres Munoz is on?
No. Marlins.
Nope.
No, we faced him at Seattle. Seattle.
Yep.
I was close with an M name. Mariners.
What's next, Mike?
Trevor McGill.
Trevor McGill.
Trevor McGill.
Oh, yeah, I know this one too. He hasn't been doing it long.
2 years.
Pirates.
No, Brewers.
That's right.
Brewers.
Correct. Good job out of you.
Jeff Hoffman.
Wow.
Is that Trevor Hoffman's son?
What? No.
Jeff Hoffman's one of the save leaders?
Yeah.
17.
He's been really good, but he's had a weird year anyway.
What's his ERA, just out of curiosity?
It's not great.
Hoffman's?
Yeah.
5.29.
Because he's had like 4 or 5 really terrible appearances, and then the rest of his appearances he's been perfect. He's the Blue Jays.
It's kind of like Clase.
Yeah.
Tanner Scott and Kyle Finnegan and Ryan Hensley all have 5 blown saves this year.
Okay. Scott's the Dodgers. Hensley is the Cardinals.
The Dodgers would love to have Clase.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God.
The Cubs closer's actually been really good. He throws 101, but they'd still love that.
Who is is it Presley?
Didn't Shohei pitch a clean inning yesterday?
Yeah, 2 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we was debating that. Did he? How many innings did he pitch?
One in
Just
each of
one.
his appearances. He gave up a run on a sac fly, I think, in his first appearance.
I'm going to email our guest to get him on in 1 second if we don't hear from him. But real quick, I just saw someone tweet this out. Bull, did you know that Tyler Freeman's hitting 323 with an 846 OPS? Now, he's only played
He hasn't
in
played a
38
lot.
games. He's got 100 at-bats, so small sample size.
He's been hot lately.
Wow, that's crazy.
You guys got to – Jay, promote the game on KYC real quick.
Yeah, it's on tomorrow on WKYC tomorrow night, 6:45, is it, or 6:30? Okay, so right after our news ends. But this is a big homestand, Bull. They've got some tough games. The next 12 games are
15.
15 really.
Yeah.
You could go out another series.
Well, yeah, Blue Jays are playing good baseball. They've been hitting.
And that's
really
going to
well.
be a team that we could, that we're battling with for the wild card. So these are big games, man. Big, and I know the Cubs have been scuffling lately, but the Cubs they've got a good
Well, their lineup's
club.
great. Their pitching the last week or 10 days has gone down the crapper. Besides,
What did you think of that ballpark they're playing in Sacramento?
It's
Isn't that
so
weird?
seeing
It
that.
was so weird. I have a buddy who's been to
Yeah.
every major league stadium.
Yeah.
And this year he's going to Tampa, Steinbrenner,
Right.
and he was at the
Yeah.
game yesterday. And it's just like they're minor league atmosphere.
It's so bizarre.
And they're playing games there every single day.
Right, because the other team plays.
So you know what that does to a field.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Just kills
Progressive gets 10 days where no one's
Beat
on
up
it.
and torn up, yeah.
And boy, by August, that field is going to be
Yeah.
ravaged.
By the way, did you see, speaking of Matthew Boyd, did you see that line drive he caught?
No, I didn't.
Can we play that by any chance, Mike? Do you guys?
I'll find it later.
Yeah.
Was it
Our
like a
guest is going to come at
life-saving line drive?
12:30.
Right
Like
in his
this,
face.
and then he flipped over backwards.
Oh my God.
Our guest is going to come at 12:30, so let's talk a little Shedeur Sanders, guys, after a quick word from FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get started. We spent the first hour of the show talking basketball and baseball. Let's spend a few minutes here on football. We found some prop bets on the interweb this weekend regarding the Browns rookie quarterback. I'm going to give you guys the prop bet. You tell me if you take the bet. If not, what would the odds have to be for you to take the bet? Are you guys ready?
Let's do it.
We got three of them. Prop bet number one. Shedeur Sanders should have more than 300 passing yards in a single game this season. The odds, -140.
Yeah, no, I'm
Would you
not
take the juice on that or no?
No, that's a high bar. Very few do go over 300 in a game anymore.
I mean, that means it's more likely than not to happen. First of all, he has to play. We don't know for sure he's going to play this year.
Right. I mean, I feel pretty good that he's going to play. You would take a bet that he's going to see action.
I
Right?
would.
But the 300, that's a high bar, Bull.
How many?
I'll take it. You know why I'll take it? It's at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're going to play, who's going to be injured. You could be down in a football game, and we know Kevin Stefanski's propensity. He will throw the ball if he's down. Even when we had Nick Chubb, he was keeping him at 14, 16 carries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that you can see a game where the Browns are down and they need some scores. They throw the ball, and you look up, he has 40 attempts. He may have a couple of turnovers in that, but I think it's possible he get 300 yards.
I wanted to look at.
Oh, I think it's possible.
I mean,
I just think it's highly unlikely.
if he plays 6 games and he's in one of those 6 games, they're down and they got to throw the football at halftime.
Watch this. Mike, how many 300-yard passing games have the Browns had in the last 3 seasons from someone not named Joe Flacco or Jameis Winston?
I mean, that's a loaded question.
I don't think
I think it's 0.
Well, I don't think we've done it.
That's
Deshaun never did it, I don't think.
I don't think he did either.
I think the
Hell, we
Titans
were
game-
doing backflips one day when he went over 200.
let me look at that. Let me think. I know DTR didn't. PJ Walker didn't.
No, I
Jacoby
think Baker
Brissett?
had it. Baker probably had a few.
Jacoby Brissett, did he have that 11 games he played? Did he have any over 300?
No, I don't think so.
I'll look it up.
I think he was in the twos.
I don't think so.
We was giving his 225, 230.
That's what I say. Once upon a time in the Marino and even in a more recent era, 300-yard passing games were all over the place.
like candy.
But hell, how many did Patrick Mahomes have last year? And Patrick Mahomes used to sneeze 300-yard passing games.
Hey, they used to give them 300 out like the doctor used to,
like Oprah giving out cards,
or like your doctor
you get a 300. You get a 300.
Your doctor giving you Vicodins. They don't give. You can't get none of that no more.
No.
How many 300-yard passing games do you think Jaden Daniels, who had a magnificent rookie season, had?
Mahomes had 3 last year.
What's that?
3.
Mahomes had 3.
I want to say 2.
Jaden Daniels had 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now, the year
they
before,
don't happen as much.
The year before, C.J. Stroud had 6 as a rookie.
Yeah, he destroyed us.
Yeah.
Now they had no running game.
Yeah,
and
but
Washington
I mean, but that's still impressive.
Jaden's thing was he was highly efficient.
And he was
22 of 28.
He had a lot of games between 250 and 280.
Yeah, which I said one day last year, I go 250 is the new 300.
I think you're going too far with that.
Well, you can look it up.
I say two.
You could ask AI. Steve will do this.
275.
Yeah.
275 is almost. If you throw for 275 and you run into, because Jaden Daniels could have about 60 yards on the ground too.
Yeah, you could.
And I'd be like,
he does have 60 yards.
And when he has no 60, it make it feel like you just. I mean, he destroyed us last year.
Yes,
I mean, when he made me rethink my whole situation. I think anybody that was wishing for the Browns to be like, yo, we got something here. Let's see what Deshaun Watson.
Fresh out of the university, too.
Man.
Just boom, 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 boom.
He was going.
We thought that they were going to win that game. We're like, yeah,
only one quarterback in the NFL averaged more than 275 per game last season.
Stunning. And I'll guarantee you there was a time when there were more than one quarterback that averaged over 300 a game.
Give me a year. We'll do one of these real quick. Give me a.
Let's go to.
Let me look at
Go
this.
to the Marino, Esiason.
ESPN goes back to 2004 to sort this.
Okay,
so.
well that's
for the sake of this.
Okay, go back 2015.
Jay, those days, they weren't throwing for that many yards overall as a
I don't
league.
know.
I mean,
there were a few guys. I'm looking at it right now.
In 15,
Yeah,
you had 2 guys over 300.
as an average.
Phillip Rivers was 299.5.
Yep.
Ooh.
Brady was 298.1.
Okay, so really you had 4 guys pretty much
Carson
averaging.
Palmer was 291.9.
No, let's not throw him in there, but we'll throw Brady and Rivers in
What
there.
year are you talking about?
This is 15.
2015.
So 2015 as a league, there was an average of 243.8 passing yards per game, which was the highest in the history of the NFL.
But what you're doing though, and
yeah,
what you're doing now is you're bringing everybody in. What I'm saying, the point I'm making is there used to be a time when there were 4 or 5 guys that were throwing for 300 a game every week. We just pointed that out, 2015. Last year, no one averaged 300 yards a game.
No one averaged 290.
No one averaged 290.
You said
so
in 2015, 5 guys averaged.
And that was just a random year I threw up because I remember, I don't know what the height of the era was.
That was it.
It feels like it was, Bull, but it could have gone into 16 and 17.
And how many guys threw for an average of 300 yards that year?
Roethlisberger averaged 329.
Dang.
Breeze was 320. I'm rounding up.
Yeah.
Breeze was 325. Phillip Rivers was 300 on the dot, and Brady was 299.
Yeah, they was cooking.
So that's
4 guys.
They was cooking.
I don't know if 250 is the new 300. Maybe 275 is, whatever. How many guys averaged over 250 yards a game last year?
Last year?
Yeah.
A lot.
I would think a lot.
Yeah.
Last year in the regular season, over 250.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, so it might be 275 is the new 300. Yeah. How many guys averaged over 275 last year?
Just Joe Burrow.
See,
1.
I told you.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe it's
and Jared Goff.
270?
260.
266.
270, you add Jared Goff. He was at 272.
So that's 2.
If you go to 260, you could add Baker and Tua into the mix.
Okay, so so maybe it's the 260 is the new 300.
266.1 is the new 300.
266 and 3 inches.
Right.
Right,
I will say this, but back.
So would you take it, G? Would you take it at minus 140?
I would, but
He's taking it.
I would.
He's got him for 4,500.
No. No. We don't have. Listen, we talk about games here. Here's the thing. I said this on. I was doing a barbershop the other day. I said it'd be interesting to see which, if you're watching Shedeur Sanders, in which order in the lineup does he go? And I mean by this, if you say, all right, Flacco's going to play, right? If you want to see Shedeur Sanders play, do you rather him go second or third? And what I mean by that is, if Flacco goes 4 games, 5 games, do you want to be up in that 6-game range, or do you want to be the last guy standing? Now, there's a dangerous game you play because, say, for instance, if you go third, that second guy lights it up, you might not get a shot.
You're right. You might not.
Or if you are the last guy, you might get a little more lack and more room because you're the last guy to go. They had already exhausted the other two options, so you don't have the expectations. You don't have, and they might let you do a little something.
And at that point, you're like, all right,
whatever.
Playing with house money. So what do you got?
Now you out here doing trick plays. You might get lightning in a bottle. You had a bad season. Now you got to. It's funny to me how this is going to play out because, listen, you can get in that second tier. And you're like, okay, I'm first up, but is that the place you really want to be at?
When you look at the schedule, G,
right.
The first 6 is a gauntlet.
You're going to be playing against great. The first 5 is one of the hardest schedules I've seen, and I don't like playing the schedule game. But
they're tough.
Why would you give us the Bengals and Ravens back to back, and then Packers, Lions, Vikings, and then you still like a lot of people add.
Those are, correct me if I'm wrong. Which
all
of those
playoffs
teams didn't make the playoffs?
None of them. All of them.
That's what I thought.
The Bengals didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, the Bengals missed barely.
Yeah.
They were coming on. If they had another week in the regular season, they would have made it.
30 more seconds in the season they're in.
But they have consistently played poorly early in the season.
At the beginning of the season, they dig themselves holes.
But
can you imagine if the Browns opened with a win over the Bengals?
That's wild.
Are you guys ready for the second prop?
Yes.
We got 3 of these. The next prop, the odds plus 300 for Shedeur to throw for 2,000 or more yards on the season. Damn. Plus 300.
So let's guess how many games he's
got.
That's it. That's what I was just going to say. The question is, how much do we think he'll play? If he plays half the season, yes, he's got it.
Yeah.
I would hope.
If you got 10 games, that's another thing.
I don't know that he's got it. I mean, if he plays 8 games, he has to average 250 yards a game.
Yes.
Yeah,
you're right.
For a rookie, that's a lot.
Yeah,
we just said 261.3 is the new 300. So 250s.
Here's the thing. Going back to that last
that's a rookie, Mike.
If he has one game where he throws over 300 yards, we've got something.
Yeah,
we've got something.
I think I would not bet on that.
I wouldn't either. It's too high.
First of all, he'd have to play at least 7 games minimum.
I think
and probably would have played 9 or 10. Remember, and the Browns, it's not like they have prolific weapons in the passing game.
And
they do not.
And you got to understand, you know them. You go back and watch the DTR playbook. That playbook is run, short pass. Run, short pass, punt.
They're not going to throw him. When and if he gets his opportunity, they're not going to just throw him out there and say, chuck it all around the field.
Oh, no. There will be.
And, Bull, you mentioned 8 games as the barometer. Dak played 8 games last year, threw for 1,978 yards.
Yeah.
Better than Dak, statistically speaking.
I ain't taking that. And this is projecting at 8 games. And if you project at 8 games, that means, say Flacco plays 5 games, right? And depending on who gets to go first, Dylan or Shedeur Sanders, they'd have to have another 4. How many games you think Dylan would play if they gave him the opportunity? I don't think they would put him out there and just say, "Oh, you get 2 games." He's going to get a
right. What do you think? What do you think the percentage chance is that he plays 8 games this year? Not what you want to happen. What you think is going to happen.
I would say it's probably below 50%.
I agree. I'd say there's maybe a 25% chance.
He'd have to.
I still think it's going to be Joe Flacco. I'm the only guy that thinks that.
No. I know.
Jay says. Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Flacco's not. It's going to be Kenny Pickett.
No, Joe Flacco is definitely the odds-on favorite to start.
See, I would think so, but man, I just keep hearing these guys that cover the team every day telling me no, it's Kenny Pickett.
They keep telling me Pickett, and I was laughing and joking. I said, listen, out of all of these comments, bro, I'll be watching all these throws. Where are the Pickett highlights? Where is these touchdowns?
What I don't understand about starting Kenny Pickett is if you want your best chance to win, it's most likely Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
If it's all about not winning in development, then start one of the rookies.
Right.
I don't get the Pickett thing.
I don't either.
I've been trying.
Now he's only 3 years removed from the draft, 4 years removed from the draft. So
I guess they
might say he's still in that. And here's the other thing. I talked about this one day last week. If you look at his early developmental years, he was with Canada as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And everybody in Pittsburgh is pretty much, those that weren't on board immediately jumped on that bandwagon like, okay, this guy's the worst offensive coordinator Pittsburgh's ever had. So maybe he stunted his development. And if our guy Stefanski is the quarterback whisperer and he can get something out of this guy, then the thinking is, we think the tools are there. We just think that the guidance has been poor. And in Philly, it's a wasted year. You're watching. You know, how much are they working on developing Kenny Pickett? Not at all. No. So let's see what happens when they go in the lab. Can Stefanski come out with a polished Kenny Pickett that make all of us go,
now,
wow, it's kind of like Sam Darnold. He's good all of a sudden.
I will say this, though. These preseason games count more. See,
I can't wait for this.
You could do a lot of smoke and mirrors right now. You could play with the reps. Guys ain't going to play. You're going to play open to public, not open to public. But at one point in time, they're going to roll on the camera and the TV's going to come on and the Browns are going to have a preseason game. And I'm telling you this right now. I don't care if he comes out, if Shedeur Sanders come out here and throw 2 touchdown passes and people look like they're excited, it's going to be very, very difficult, no matter what nobody says, to say,
No, I agree with that.
I mean, it's going to be tough. Like, we could, and
I've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks play well in the preseason.
What if Dylan Gabriel comes out and has 3 series and leads 2 touchdowns? Same thing.
Same thing. You're going to be like,
okay.
Who is this? And then at that point, everybody's going to be like, well, I don't really care about these old dudes. Like,
right. We got two
can we see
young guys that can sling it around.
Can we see what's up with them? Like, that's what we want to see. Like, and that's the great thing about football is, even preseason games, trust me, everybody, this year is going to be very interesting.
It matters.
It's going to really
matter. It matters more
matter.
than ever before. And this is coming off 3 years where the regime has said, we don't even. Yep. Wait, they played preseason games? We didn't even know they played them. You know what's going to be funny, too?
Finish that.
When Flacco throws that first pick, 80% of Cleveland's going to be like, that's who he is. Let's get him out of here.
Now, that's the funny.
How much is he even going to play in the preseason?
I don't think he's going to play that much.
Yeah. None.
At all.
None. Why would you? You know what you have with him.
And Kenny Pickett, that's why if you start Kenny Pickett, like how much of a leash do you have? Like, he has no leash at all. Like, they'll call for anybody.
Because he's got a body of work, and we know what it is, and it's just kind of mid.
I just want everyone out there watching to know that if we saw preseason prop bet odds for Gabriel or any other Browns rookies, we'll also do those topics.
They don't, do they? Well, I guess they will.
And maybe... But because Shedeur is such a big name, we have gotten them. So don't think we're doing this because
who cares what people? Don't worry about it.
I know I'm going to get a million texts saying where's the Dylan stuff. I'm just letting people know.
One?
I'm just letting them know. As soon as they come out, we'll do those too. We got the last one though. Our final Shedeur Sanders.
Usually the people that complain about people having agendas are the people who have agendas. Remember that. Go ahead.
Plus 2,000 odds, Bull. Shedeur to win Rookie of the Year. Goes back to how much will he play versus will he not play, but. Could you be enticed into
I mean, it's a long shot, obviously.
Juicy odds.
But I would, I could be enticed to bet, a nice 5 spot on that. Why not?
I actually agree. It's my favorite of all of them.
That's the only one I would consider betting.
I would too.
Here's why that's a very good bet. Because of the way we work in America, everybody loves a great redemption story. Oh, they love it, don't they? They love a good comeback.
The only thing they love more than tearing you down is building you back up.
Build back up. And right there, safe Flacco, for whatever reason, goes out of the game first couple of games. Mm-hmm. There's no expectations. None at all.
None.
All of a sudden, he comes in the game and he plays well against one of these teams, and they accidentally win. Right. Now you're on the map. Now you're the odds-on favorite. Now, like, people are watching you every single day, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is a story. If he's even close to the next guy, they're gonna give it to him." We saw it with Flacco when he was comeback player of the year. Remember?
Right, yeah.
And DeMar Hamlin literally died, and he was up for comeback player of the year, and Flacco still won.
Mike, who's the favorite? Is it Cam Ward or is it Travis Hunter?
It's the crazy Shedeur phenomenon. They haven't put out the full odds yet. They just dropped and released some Shedeur odds.
That's why.
That is so nuts.
That's why.
You sure?
Like,
I'll double
They
check.
know who people are going to bet on, though.
Hey,
by the whole idea here is to get people to bet.
Cleveland lit. Listen. I will say this: go watch all these other shows, man. You watch any big name show. If he plays remotely well, he's Colin Cowherd, ESPN. They ready to go.
Bro, I did find more. Sorry, I have found more. Ashton Genty's the favorite at plus 270.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cam Ward's plus 300. Travis Hunter plus 900. Your three favorites.
Oh, so Genty and Ward are pretty close.
Plus 270, plus 300.
Will we
negligible?
What do you? Will we? I think it's weird because I think more of us would be sitting here comparing Mason Graham to Travis Hunter, but since we got Shedeur Sanders, it kind of just took all our attention away from not having Travis Hunter. Do you think that
you could have had both?
You could, which is wild and makes me. I don't want to say nothing, but go ahead. Do you think people will look at Travis Hunter and be like, "What the heck were we doing?" You think, or do you think we won't necessily care about it if we get a quarterback?
Care about it.
I'll care too.
I mean, if Mason Graham ends up being a great player, then I guess it's not that big a deal. But if Mason Graham's just a guy, and he's a great player, you're going to regret it.
You better believe it.
Unless this is a big if, they end up getting their franchise quarterback with the first-round pick they got in that trade.
Yeah,
then
that's
you
true.
Forgive
so there is another element to that one.
Yeah.
Normally, you miss the guy that you passed on when the guy you took stinks.
Right.
Yeah.
If he's a good player, if Mason Graham comes in here and starts and is a contributor, we're like, okay, we missed on this good player, but we've got one of our own, so no harm, no foul.
Apparently, in the off-season activities, Hunter was almost exclusively playing offense.
Ooh,
and that's not because he's not going to play defense. It's just because they felt like he was more natural as a defensive player, so they really wanted to work with him more on the offensive side. He just signed, I believe, the biggest guaranteed contract for a non-quarterback rookie since they've gone to this
slotted
new pay
system.
scale. Yeah.
Really?
Speaking of that, Bull, the Bengals' #1 pick.
What's going on with that? Let me talk.
How do
talk
you
to
not
me about
sign
that.
your #1 draft pick when it's
know.
slotted?
What?
It's so there's.
I know there's language that he doesn't
that's
like
the
in there, but
holdup.
why are the Bengals putting that in there for him when they didn't for other guys?
I don't. Who knows what the hell they do?
It really is. When I read that article, I'm like, I am missing something.
They need to sign him and Hendrickson and stop effing around. I don't know what they're doing.
It's because I'm looking at it. I'm like, if all the other contracts had the same language, take it. Just take the easy money and get a.
No, I think the Bengals put language in there that not every team does.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
there's the only contract.
They're stupid. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
We got our guests, so you guys ready to talk a little NBA draft as we get ready to the Cavs to add some talent to the roster. We're going to bring in someone who knows the draft better than all of us combined after a quick word.
He better, because we're talking about second-round picks.
He does.
We don't
Trust
know anything
me, he does.
about it.
If you guys haven't heard of Buckeye State Credit Union yet, meet your new favorite financial partner. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local institution offering everything from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans with some of the lowest rates in Northeast Ohio. Their Cleveland branch is in Shaker Heights, which is one of the 5 locations across the state, making it easy to find one near you. Can't get to a branch? No problem. They make banking simple with digital banking. What sets them apart? Well, they make banking personal and convenient at Buckeye. Their focus is you. Their core values: connect, simplify, and adapt. Guide everything they do, bringing people together, cutting through the clutter, and they're innovative. To learn more, visit buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. And with that, we got Rafael Barlowe from the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. He's also a content creator. You can find him on Twitter at Barlow500. He joined us when we first launched the show a couple years ago. Now he's back. How you doing today, Rafael?
I'm good. I covered the NBA draft, so hopefully you mentioned NFL. I'm in the wrong.
Yeah, it's Freudian slip.
Right show.
Freudian slip. I'm stupid.
Hey, here's the deal.
There, Mike.
Even if you did cover the NFL draft, you probably know more about the NBA draft than all of us put together. Taking Mikey out of the equation, because we talked about it Friday and Mikey wasn't here. I'm like, second round, trying to project in today's NBA draft in the second round, what's possibly going to be there by the time the Cavs pick?
I think there's actually some guys that could possibly come in and help. This year's class is a little bit different. There's a lot of seniors, and with the whole NIL thing, a lot of the freshmen, if they weren't if they didn't feel like they were locks to be within the top 20, they decided to go back to school, which left the door open for a lot of seniors and experienced guys to come in and be drafted. So I do think that at 49, there's a chance that you can get someone that can come in to help. I know it sounds crazy because your first round pick last year didn't really get an opportunity, but I do think it is possible to find some help this year.
We look at it. Are there some, are there guys that are in the European ranks that could sneak into the second round of the draft? I know before people used to stash a lot of people in Europe, getting an opportunity to play, and they would kind of redshirt them. Is there any European guys that could possibly fall into the second rounds that we should have our eyes on?
Yeah, there's a few. Well, as far as center depth, I think that would be like the Cavs' most glaring need. I don't know if there's an international center in the range that you're in that would fit that bill. More so guys that could be like 4 or 5-ish. But there's a guy named Bogo Markovic from Serbia. He's a player that I've had a chance to watch live a couple times. I like what he brings to the table, but he's not a traditional 5, even though he's about 6'11", 7 foot. He's more so of your 4/situational 5, but he's a versatile defender, can shoot, can pass, just does a lot of different things that can contribute to winning.
I like the name Bogo. Buy one, get one.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Let's go for that.
Well, that's like the shorter version. Like I can't pronounce that.
Yeah, no, hey, we'll call him Bogo if the Cavs decide to draft him. I can promise you that.
It's an interesting point you bring up, Rafael, because the fact that you're going to have more senior. It used to be when I was a kid, right? Like every player that came out was at least a junior, pretty much. I mean, with rare exceptions. And so you had and we had watched them play for 3 or 4 years in college. And so as a fan, you knew a lot more, unless you're a diehard and somebody does it for a living like you. The average fan doesn't know a lot of these players, but maybe we'll start seeing a trend in the opposite direction because of NIL. I think that's a positive, that guys will stay in college longer. It's probably actually good for some of these players to get more college experience before playing in the I think I just said NFL too, before playing in the NBA.
I think so. As far as getting to know the players, you may get to know them, but with the transfer portal, they're not going to be at the same school.
That's
so
true.
A guy could play 3 years and be at 3 different schools, just who's ever offering the most money. But I do think that NIL allows players to make more sound decisions. I don't think there's going to be a rush to get to the NBA. I mean, we've seen in, the last 10 plus years, if a guy's projected to be a one-and-done guy, but even if he doesn't have a strong freshman year, he may enter the draft because his name is on the board and he may take the risk. Now it's like, if you're on draft boards, you're probably going to make $1 million+ in college, so you might as well stay in school, enjoy the fun of being a college student. Imagine being a millionaire college student.
No. Listen. I'm gonna tell you what, they couldn't have did that. I would have not I would have been dead. I would have not been playing. $1 million at Ohio University. I'll be the party king. What are you talking about?
Beers like $1.25. You can buy beers.
G. Bush would have been like Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School. He would have had a hot tub in his dorm. He would have knocked the wall down and then gone to 2 dorms.
Practice? What you mean?
Yeah, that's a dangerous. That's a danger. Yeah. Are you gonna ask him about Ace Bailey?
No, I want to get some second round guys before we get to the top of the draft. But unlike these guys, I have done a little bit of research so far into some guys I think we can target for the Cavs. I'm gonna do my top 5 guys tomorrow on the show, so we'll get to that. But a couple names you've seen at least. I know second round mocks, it's impossible to predict who will actually be there at picks 49 and 58. But a couple of names we've seen tied to Cleveland are Ryan Nembhard, the point guard out of Gonzaga, Vlad Golden, the big man out of Michigan, Bryce Williams worked out with them, we know, Cam Jones, names like that. Out of the names that you've seen kind of mocked in that range to Cleveland, do you have a particular favorite that you'd be like, all right, the Cavs can get him at 49, that'd be a home run?
I think Ryan Nembhard is going to stick. If he's available at 49, I think that would be a value pick. And when I say stick, I think he's going to be one of the guys that we look at 5 years from now and say he's still in the NBA. Like if you go back and look at the 2020 draft, there might be like 6 or 7 guys that were first-round picks that are not in the NBA. I think Nembhard can stick. Yeah, a little on the smaller side, but led the nation in assists. He's smart. He's tough. He's competitive. I think there's a role for him to play a long time in the NBA as your third point guard or just back end rotation guy that the coaching staff loves. So he's not a guy that's going to wow people, but I think he can stick. Maybe it's in a role similar to Trey Jones, what Trey Jones is playing. I think Trey Jones is like the 41st pick in 2020.
I mean,
Vlad Golden, if Hanson Yang is available, I'm a big Hanson Yang fan, a 7-footer from China. If Hanson Yang is available at 49, you have to absolutely take him over Vlad Golden. But Golden he's a massive interior presence, and you may not need him to play a lot of minutes, but he can provide some depth.
I mean, how big is this guy?
He's a legit 7-footer.
This guy's 7 foot, and he averaged 4 rebounds a game?
No, I don't think that's true.
Well, he played next to Danny Wolf, who was another 7-footer who grabbed a bunch of boards.
He averaged 10 rebounds per game. Yep.
But 4 rebounds a game for a 7-footer.
No, he averaged 7. That's that graphic.
Oh, you got to screw up on the stats.
Okay. That's better. That's better. Okay. I could talk myself into it.
Yeah, 4 would be troubling.
I mean, obviously, Nembhard's brother's a real good player. Has turned into a really good player. So you got bloodlines there, but. And he'd fit with the Cavs with all their miniature guards.
Is it well, the physicality piece? We have Jared Allen. Does this guy give us anything in terms of centers who are rough riders, so to speak? Guys that are going to. I need glorified goons. I need young goons coming up here, smacking people around. Do we got any enforcers in the draft?
The days of the enforcer, I feel like they're gone. Like I'm 45, so when I grew up, I feel like teams filled the back end of their rosters with enforcers. Now you fill out your back end of your roster with a shooter, but there's no more guys where his role is to come in and protect the star and maybe drop an elbow or two and go back to the bench. but Golden, he's a physical presence, and he's skilled, but he's not like extremely skilled enough to where he's finesse. So I do think that he could be a guy that could bring some physicality and would be an upgrade as far as physicality from what Jared Allen brings, especially in the playoffs.
He's listed at 7'1", 260, by the way. So he's Russian. Russian. So take that into consideration.
Russian, he's got a little nastiness in him.
I've never heard of a soft Russian before.
No.
I wanted to ask about Cam Jones. He was a guy who came to Cleveland for the NCAA tournament, played 5 years. I'm biased towards lefties. He's a lefty. He's going to go somewhere in the second round. To me, he's just a guy I think he's going to have a productive NBA career. Probably not a star, but a guy that can play 6, 7, 8 years in the league is a guy that comes off the bench. And when you're drafting guys in the second round, upside's always limited, but I feel like he could step in and play on an NBA court tomorrow. I don't know what you feel about Cam Jones, but he's a guy that I've at least circled as a guy I'm high on for the Cavs.
Yeah, I like him simply because he's played 2 different roles. When he was at Marquette the year prior, he was a scorer. He led the Big East in scoring, and he played with Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro, 2 guys that were drafted in 2024. This year, he takes on a totally new position. He's the lead ball handler. He's the point guard. And even though the shooting percentages dipped, and I think a lot of that had to do with
highlights or stats for him because it's really hard to find international French League highlights. But Mo Diawara, what's your take on Mo? I've heard from a couple different guys that he's impressed a lot in workouts at different teams across the league, and he's a guy I wasn't too familiar with. But now I've had to open my eyes to whatever Mo Diawara brings to the table.
So he's a tough eval, and here's why. Because there's about 90 guys with the same name that are either in France or Senegal. And so when people ask me about him, like, are you sure you have the right one? But he's a player that I first saw, I want to say 2 years ago in a tournament in Greece. Good size, can shoot the ball. He's kind of been a late riser in a sense. Like, people weren't really talking about him 2 months ago, but I think he has a chance to be drafted. And I think that, he has a chance of being able to earn some playing time because he's, like I said, good size and he can shoot and he's athletic.
Mike, did you watch that tournament in Greece?
No, but we are talking about the same guy because we're talking about the French guy. We are talking about the French Diawara. We're on the same wavelength.
My guy got automatic credit when he says, I watched this tournament in Greece a couple months ago. I'm like, okay.
Well, Rafael travels the world, right? If I remember correctly from your Substack, he travels the world doing all this.
He knows all these guys.
Yeah, I do.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around the block a few times.
I want to ask you, Rafael, about a guy that we actually had an interesting conversation in the text chain last night, I think it was. Somebody threw Ace Bailey in there.
I knew G would love him.
Yeah, he's kind of I don't know what to make of the guy. Like, I just thought his presence, along with some other good players at Rutgers, they'd be a pretty good team. They were not. They were not a good team.
2 of the 3 top 3 picks, and they stunk.
And they were awful. And I don't get it.
Yeah.
Now, how do you see him translating into the NBA? What is he going to be?
So as far as Rutgers, I've talked to different coaches, and everybody will say that they were just awful. Like, they did not have Big Ten caliber talent on the team around their 2 guys. And so if you take basically someone said they had like NAIA guys. I mean, they were being facetious there, but they were saying that they just didn't have a lot of talent. College basketball is getting older, despite the fact that both of those guys should go in the top 5. You know, you're seeing guys like we just mentioned, Cam Jones. You mentioned Vlad Golden. These guys are 23 years old, and they've been around, and Rutgers just did not have a lot of talent. And they were relying on 2 freshmen, and one of them is only 18 years old, to try to win games. And the Big Ten was, I mean, it wasn't the best conference, but it was one of the top deep. 2 or 3 conferences. Yeah, so, but it is disappointing, and I understand, like, from the outside looking in, it's like, we're going to take 2 guys high that couldn't play 500 basketball. But Bailey is extremely talented. He's got good size, and I mean, there's a reason that people liked him and thought that he had a chance of being the number 1 pick coming into the year. I mean, Cooper Flagg kind of shut that door pretty early in the season. But there's a lot to like about Bailey, but he is polarizing because he's extremely confident. And sometimes, you know, confidence leads to some questionable shot selection. I mean, you guys are in Cleveland, so you've seen all the comparisons to Shedeur Sanders that people are trying to make parallels there. I think it's a totally different situation, but I think Ace is going to be good. It's just right now he's, in my opinion, and just based off of what I've been hearing, his camp is willing to take the PR hit to get him in the most favorable situation where they think he can develop and be able to play, you know, just be able to play free, as opposed to going to Philadelphia where they're probably in win now mode. You have a coach that may not allow him to, you know, to make some mistakes. He may, you know, if he takes some bad shots or he misses an assignment on defense, he may get a quick hook because Philly's trying to win. While if he goes to Washington or Brooklyn, you know that he's going to get his 30 minutes per game and the opportunity to develop.
Man, when was the last time a player wanted to go play for the Wizards?
Yeah, not very often.
Alex Sarr, last year. Alex Sarr.
All right,
there you go. He didn't want to go to Atlanta.
Let me ask this.
He didn't want to go to Atlanta.
Rafi, I'm gonna ask you this. This is kind of like not really an off the wall question, but we got Evan Mobley here, right? And obviously, you watched Evan Mobley a ton in the draft, and you kind of was able to see his development. What's his ceiling? Because we looking at it like he was Defensive Player of the Year this year. Here we feel like he can get to a level where it's like, hey, you can win a championship with Evan Mobley being your best player. He's averaging about 19 and 9. What is his ceiling to you when you watch him, and how his development has gone from when you saw him to what he is now? And do you think he can take another step?
Yeah, he's still young. I guess the question is he best as a 4 or as a 5? And I know I had some questions or concerns if him and Jared Allen could play together, which, I mean, they were obviously really good during the regular season, and it was a different story in the playoffs, but Mobley's extremely skilled. I would like to see him get a little bit stronger. I think he's probably a little bit more dangerous as a 5 because he's a matchup problem. But I think if he continues to make the strides that he made this past year, continues to improve as a shooter, and just, I guess, being consistently aggressive and assertive, I think that's the next step for him.
Rafael, let's wrap it up with this. I'm curious, as someone who's around the game all over the world as much as you are, there's been a lot of talk about how the foreign players, and we're seeing more and more like higher percentages of foreign players in the draft, and we're seeing that those guys, the talk is that those guys are being coached better in Europe because of the AAU basketball here is all about playing games and not about practicing, and that I've heard a lot of former players talk about how they hate the AAU system. And what do you make of all that? Is this truth, or what is the truth on that situation?
Yeah, I mean, some of the points are definitely valid. There's a lot of good in AAU, but I think it's just more profitable or gets the algorithm moving if you bash it. But I think the difference is we have such a wide pool of players to choose from. So when you look at like Europe, each country is like a state. So imagine if the United States is broken up to every state was a country. And so with Europe, they may not have the wide range of talent to pull from. So who they have is all they have to develop. Here, we'll have a tryout. All right, this guy's not good. All right, we're cutting him. Or if you are in one of the major sneaker circuits and your team loses 3 games in the first session, you're worried about losing your contract, so you just cut kids and go bring in another group of guys. So you don't really have time to develop, and kids are like, I live in Texas, and we have kids that live in different states that are playing on Texas teams, and they may come in for a day. And so I do think that has had an impact. However, we're still winning gold medals. So, I mean, the games are a little bit closer than they were in like 92, but we're still winning. But I do think that the European model is a little bit better, but just because they don't have the wide range of talent to choose from, so they have to like really focus in on developing what they have. While we can just say, this kid's not good, let's cut him, let's go find somebody else.
Interesting.
All right.
Well, hopefully we'll get one of those treasures in the second round. It'd be nice. It's going to be tough, but we'll see. Rafi, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it.
You.
Very knowledgeable.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks again. Anytime.
You can find more of his stuff on the Locked On NBA Draft Podcast. He also has a Substack. Follow him on Twitter at Barlow500. We tagged him in the clip, and you can find it in the show tweet earlier. That was Rafael Barlow.
He's got you beat on second-round knowledge, right?
That's crazy.
He's going to tournaments.
He's got me
and Breeze.
smoked. It's not even close.
This dude get on planes.
Damn.
It's like MJ versus Nick Collison. It's not even close.
Where you going?
If Nick Collison were 5'3".
Hey, these guys going to Eastern European bloc countries, bro. Yeah. He all in Istanbul.
No, he travels the world doing this. He's very, very good at what he does. Very, very good at what he does.
Yeah.
All right, we got one last topic we're going to get to. Quick reminder, tomorrow's Guardians game is on KYC. They're taking on the Blue Jays. Get all your coverage here on KYC pregame and all that fun stuff. But tomorrow's game on KYC, coverage begins at 6:30. Yesterday was not only Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but Kevin Durant got traded again, heading to Houston for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick, and 5 second-round picks over the next couple of years. It came out afterwards. Shams reported that the Cavs were one of the mystery teams that were at least interested in some regard in Kevin Durant. I wanted to ask you guys this question. When it came out that the Cavs were a mystery team, do you believe they actually had some in-depth discussions with Phoenix on a deal for Durant?
How
could
they have what would they have offered? Like, what's realistic?
Well, I wanted to ask you guys first because my theory is they simply made a call so Koby can cover himself and say, yeah, we were interested. I made a call.
I thought the two owners hated each other. Why would they make a deal?
They do.
So why would he give us
the call
KD?
might have gone like this. Is there any chance our two owners can find common ground to make a deal?
And they were like, no.
And the answer might have been like, no. Click.
Yeah, I don't.
According to Jason,
they hate
it's
each other. Like
next level hatred.
So,
no, not even according to Jason. That is
factual.
Common knowledge.
So
families have been
they're
involved.
speaking on each other's wives and daughters.
Yeah,
Well,
once it gets to that,
you can't even come back from that. So it was a no.
But I think Mike's right. I think you got to make the call. You got to at least explore it. And I think he tried, and I think it was immediately shut down.
How much of a difference maker at this point in his career is Kevin Durant?
He's a difference maker.
Yeah.
He's an
Come on.
He's a difference
well. He
maker.
shot over
for Phoenix.
over
Well,
40%.
Phoenix is a mess.
Last season, he shot over 40% from three.
Yeah, he's nice.
He's a difference maker.
He was the number 1 mid-range shooter in terms
nice.
of efficiency in basketball, averaged 27 points per game. He's not the defensive player he was. That's the main difference.
Yeah.
He used to be an elite defensive player, too. Now, he's big, but he's not locking guys down.
He can score.
He
And
is still a legit
in the
difference
right
maker.
situation, he can win a championship. I believe
think
that.
I think it's interesting because outside of the Cavs, the Rockets are the most fraudulent team in the NBA. And so them making this trade is interesting to see if he can
see what he does. See what kind of difference he can
I
make.
like the Rockets.
Why would you
too
say
now.
they're fraudulent?
Ooh, I like
Haven't
them.
they got knocked out early in the playoffs 2 years in a row?
I mean, they ain't had KD.
1 year. I think 1 year. They were terrible 2 years
I
ago,
mean,
weren't
This past 2 years? What are you talking?
Hey,
No.
hey, what is that starting lineup looking at like in Houston? What they looking like?
Van Vliet.
They weren't good 2 years ago, Mike?
I'm looking up. No, I don't think they were that good last year.
They've been in the playoffs the last 2 years. Am I making that up?
Nope, they missed the playoffs last year.
All right, then I'm on crack.
They were 41-41.
Yeah, I was going to say,
all right,
they
so
were 500 team.
Yeah, so they were, they lost in the first round this year.
Oh, listen. Oh, I liked them a lot.
They're not even close to being.
Oh, I liked them. Go ahead.
Is there any
talk
team
your
as
stuff.
fraudulent as the Cavs right now in the NBA?
No.
Mike, will you, Cavs homer, admit that the Cavs are the most fraudulent team in the NBA?
And they're coming off a 64-win season in which they won.
Yeah,
five
it's hard to argue against it when you have that level of regular season success
Yeah.
and that little playoff success. It's hard to argue against it. The Lakers are probably more fraudulent though.
Really?
In the way they get hyped. Yeah.
Well, they're the Lakers,
that's
though.
media.
They're always
the Sixers are the most fraudulent team. Steve Becker's right. The Sixers are the most fraudulent team.
I mean, that is the worst, the top 10 worst take. How are the Sixers just aren't good? What are you talking about?
Yeah, when you look at the pieces they have, though.
They have Embiid, Paul George, Maxey.
Right, that's why I say they're fraudulent. You look at the pieces they have, and you're like, it's kind of like Phoenix. God, how can they suck so much?
Phoenix was very fraudulent, too.
Massively fraudulent.
My thought process on how this Cavs Durant mystery team thing happened. So there's all this outside pressure for Kobe to make a move, right?
Yeah.
People want him to go up to core 4.
Yes.
Kobe's assembled this core 4. He's wanted this core 4 to stay together. This was his baby. He put this core 4 together.
Oh, my God, Mike. I'm going to have to throw you through a window if you say core 4 one more time.
He put the core 4 together. He believes in the core 4. He even added DeAndre Hunter to the core 4.
It's another one of
My
those.
gut tells me, based on the number of obstacles to make any kind of deal between the Cavs and the Suns for Durant work from a financial standpoint, the conversation went something like this. Would you guys do Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro in a bunch of seconds for Kevin? No, hang up.
You don't even say no to
So
that.
when,
you just hang up.
when the Suns talk to Shams and they go, who would you talk to? Oh, they talk to the Cavs.
And he's not lying.
Not lying. It gives Kobe an out. And I'm speculating. I'm not reporting this. I'm just speculating.
No, it makes perfect sense, though.
It gives Kobe an out to say, hey, look, we were aggressive. We made a call. We were one of the mystery teams involved in the deal. When there was no way they were making that deal because, as we talked about,
we said that Friday.
when I
Does
proposed the Durant trade, financially, there was no way to make it work.
Does anybody feel better because supposedly the Cavs made a call? Why would that change any PR? I don't care.
It's the perception. He's trying. He tried. I tried. It's one thing.
Who's buying that?
No, but Mike, in the NBA, perception is everything.
I think there are a lot of people that will believe, because they were listed as a mystery team, that they made some sort of legitimate offer to try.
When in reality they didn't.
And maybe they did. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. My
It's
gut
irrelevant.
tells me
They didn't
did
get
not.
it done.
What
So it doesn't matter what they
should be
tried.
doing is finding a way to get rid of Dean Wade and the Corals contracts
Who
to
would
get
take
under
those guys,
listen, he better keep trying.
There's nobody taking that. This
He's
is
a
not.
vanilla
It
wolf.
used to. The old NBA teams would take expiring contracts all the time. It was like a benefit. It's not anymore.
The fact that they got he got an extension like that is even wild to me. Like Okoro got extended like that. Like that was crazy.
And
like,
this circles us back to the Cavs being the favorites of the East. Who was on the roster besides? So you have Hunter, Strus, and the core 4, those 6, and who else is on the roster?
and they won't even start Hunter.
Well, I think the other teams we've established that 2 of the other would-be favorites have debilitating injuries to their best player. So at best, you're looking
the
at
Knicks
maybe Tatum makes it back next year. Halliburton's not. He got injured on the last day of this season.
Oh, Tatum's not playing either.
Add 12 months to that.
I guarantee you.
You're at the end of the year.
And we forget Damian Lillard tore his Achilles too.
And he's aged
Is
anyhow.
Jalen Tyson right now the 7th player on the Cavs?
Without bringing back, yeah, probably is.
He is.
Yeah.
I mean, Okoro and Wade might be here, but they're useless players.
But Bull, you almost dismissed and the core 4. Well, who else has a core 4?
They don't have. What does that even mean?
No.
You know what it means. It means they've got 4 pieces that they're building around that are pivotal. Now look, you can. I agree with you. What has it gotten us? Nothing.
Yeah.
But if
still
you're a
have it.
team and you've got 4 guys that are getting they're in the conversation for All-Stars and Defensive Player of the Year and MVP.
Well,
that's pretty damn
Jared
good
Allen's
today.
not in any of those conversations anymore.
Jared Allen.
No, Jared Allen was in the conversation for a potential All-Star.
I mean,
he was an All-Star 2 years ago, wasn't he?
He was.
Listen, he's.
How many other teams have 4 All-Stars?
He's a role player.
Not a lot.
Jared Allen is a role player.
Please, Mike.
Mike, they don't. Bull, they don't.
And what good has it done him?
Jared Allen.
Oklahoma City's got 2 guys.
That's a separate argument, and I agree with that argument. But this core 4
here's the thing.
label that you hate so much. I mean,
you know what Jared Allen award he should have won is the Sharman Award for being the softest player in the league.
All right,
I would give him that.
Put it to you like this.
Then we got Super Chats.
Jared Allen is not better than what Tristan Thompson gave you.
Not even close.
When he was
when it matters.
When he was at his prime. 16 in his prime.
100%.
Yeah, I would take him.
Tristan
in his prime.
Thompson, Jared Allen is not half of what Tristan Thompson was.
No,
so
I mean,
to me,
he's better offensively a little bit, but
I don't even know if he could. I would say that he's the same putback guy. Tristan Thompson was an offensive rebounding machine. Here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I get what they're saying. He was one of the first guys that they got in the building in the trade. They said, okay, we got Jared Allen. They drafted him, so they had to invite him in the core 4. I get it, but he's more.
You want to change the name to the core 3?
No,
big 3.
That's not a big 3. They got one. It's spades. They got one.
You can't be a big 3 with 2 little guards.
They got one.
But you can be a core 4.
How can you be a core 4 then? That's half the core 4.
I was making a joke because I'm calling 3, but they got 2 little guards.
How about Fab 4?
No, I'm calling them spades. One in the possible. That's what they are.
Spades.
How about the never been to a conference final 4?
You said about a lot of teams.
They better hope.
But none of these other teams have a core 4 nickname, do they, Mike?
Call them what you want to. If Evan Mobley gonna average 25 next year, you call them whatever they want to be called.
Every team does have a core 4.
Everybody does.
They're just not very good.
Except for the Guardians.
Like, you've got core guys that you build around. Oh, our guy is Jose Ramirez. We got a core 1.
One.
And then you
Bieber.
got Bieber, Shane Bieber.
Bibby. It's hard to come up with. That's messed up. And it's 12 guys.
You weren't here Friday. You talk about an exercise. We had a topic Friday. Who's the 3rd best player on the Browns?
Oh yeah, who'd you guys say?
We all picked different. We all had different.
I knew. I told you. I was
3rd best.
And honestly, when you get down to it, like, I think this is why we won 3 games last year.
Well,
why
we were
picked to win
debating
4
whether
games
the punter
next year.
was the 3rd best player.
Yeah, Bull said maybe Corey Bojorquez, and he's probably not wrong.
I put that topic in.
That was a great topic, by the way.
Denzel Ward, Jerry Jeudy, and Myles Garrett.
That was my thing.
They had Jerry Jeudy.
I had Jerry Jeudy as number 3, and so did Earl.
Yeah, I had
you
Bitonio
had Joe
3.
Bitonio.
Jerry Jeudy is a well.
Well, when Joe Flacco was throwing him the ball.
And we got super. I gotta get the super chats.
Game when Flacco wasn't the quarterback.
G. Bush, I want to hear your top 3 Browns players in overtime.
I'm sorry,
all right,
save it for overtime because I want to hear that in overtime. We got 3 super chats today to wrap up. 4 super chats. Just got an extra one. First one comes from Rob Cunningham, who says, "Watching the finals winners since 2016, the Cavs seem to celebrate a lot more on the court than others. When the clock hit 0, took 5 minutes to shake opponents' hands, or is that just me being a homer?"
I didn't time how long it took for anybody to shake hands.
They are a very jovial bunch during the game. They're not a. They don't have
with that. I would never even begin to apologize.
They don't have a mean bone in them. Like after the game, they dap everybody up and exchange uniforms and. And
Brit Dog says no mention of Kirk Barton. Very sad situation.
Yeah, that is sad. Self-inflicted. Sad.
Mick McGee says, would you consider Victor Martinez a better catcher or first baseman?
He played a good catcher.
He played most of didn't he play most of his career?
Because we were talking earlier about catchers.
Yeah. Didn't he play most of his career as DH?
But he played a lot at DH.
Yeah, a lot. He came up as a catcher, and that was the time, Bull.
Yeah.
I mean, Bryce Harper was a catcher. That was the time when organizations were saying, well, this guy's elite offensively. Mm-hmm. Let's get him the hell out of behind home plate.
Kyle Schwarber was a catcher.
Yes, he was.
All right, last super chat here.
Yeah.
Sly says, I just looked at the Guardians' last 15 drafts. 0 All-Stars out of their last 15 first and second round picks. Wow. Is that normal?
No.
I'm trying to. Normal. Yeah.
Not for 15 years, Bull. You got to hit every couple.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Now, the baseball draft is difficult. A lot of guys get injured. You're taking kids that are in high school. They don't develop or, whatever. But to go 15 years, that's 30 picks, and none of them made – these are the guys that are supposed to make up the bulk of your talent.
You got the number one pick, man.
Wow. Who was that super chat from? That's a good one.
Sly.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah,
I'll double check to make sure it's right.
Does that include pitchers?
I'll double check.
I don't think that
most of their good pitchers were not top picks.
No, that's true. Yeah. They've developed.
All right, we'll see you guys in overtime where G. Bush will name his third favorite Brown, and we're talking some Madden ratings.
I'd like to see the number